What's up, everybody? It's is it earlier than normal? I don't even know anymore.
It feels like it, right?
7 minutes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, considering our goal is to try and be on 30 minutes ago, yeah, I guess it feels, I think our timing is a little bit off, but I know mine is for sure. So,
Yeah.
we haven't even gotten to daylight savings time yet, so that's the crazy part.
Oh, I know. I don't look forward to that. I'm looking outside and it being dark still, and at least here where we don't normally have 9:30, 8:30 games either, which is
this is true.
What's your take? I love it. I love waking up because I'm an up early type of person anyway. I'm up at 7 no matter what. Then I can't sleep in.
No, I'm the exact same way, but on the weekends, and of course, it's like on the weekends where that happens only.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's crazy being an East Coaster. I'm so used to games starting at 1:00 and then ending on Sunday around 11:30, just in time to go to sleep. But I'm actually very jealous of West Coasters because I was out there a while ago and I remember watching games like starting at 10, and then next thing you know, it's like 9 p.m. and all the games are wrapped up. And I'm like, well, what are you doing for the other 2 hours? And it's like, I don't like, and they're like, oh, this is when we normally, finish our games. I'm like, well, this is crazy. I'm so used to being able to go to sleep. You're telling me there's more time to do stuff, and it's apparently there is. So jealous of them.
Yeah, I don't have it. By the time the Sunday night game's over, I'm done anyway. I don't need 2 more hours to reflect on my shitty teams or my bad decisions or anything else. Now, it would probably make things easier if you wanted to do some research and get information on the games a little bit more. So it's hard to go through after watching, 12 hours worth of games and then try to find out, who all was hurt, any type of playing time scenarios, the information that you need to start writing anything for the next week or.
True. And let me ask you a question. Do you, during the day, are you one of those people who tries to keep their phone away from them, or are you constantly checking it to see your fantasy score updates?
I mean, it's by me, but I'm not the person that's going to be, I'm not the holier than thou that are like, do not check your scores. I don't check until Tuesday to see what happened. Because, I mean, to me, I can enjoy the game and still disassociate myself from fantasy. Like the impact of a 2-yard screen pass that hurts me in fantasy that might preserve the lead for another team or keep the drive going if I appreciate the game isn't impacted as much, at least not entirely. Don't get me wrong. You watch 4 games in a row and there's 4 games on at one time. I'll put the 4 boxes on the screen. I can watch the 4 different games and I'll see. And there's been times where all 4 screens are quad screwing me, if you will. I don't know if there's a term for that. I'm sure there is, but don't Google it. And that sucks. Don't get me wrong, but it's a benefit. And the downfall, I have way too many teams, so I can't remember who I have. And so that's why I'm checking the phone. And I know you're against checking the phone.
Oh, no, I'm not. That's what I aspire to be. I can't. I sit near an outlet. I have my phone charging cable plugged in, and I just keep my apps open the entire day as best as possible. Because, I can't do that. But I'm with you. I can disassociate and just enjoy the games for what they are. But it sounds horrible. I get too many vibrations if I don't, and it just, they're constantly checking. What just happened? What just happened? Like, no. I need this right in front of me. So I'm definitely right there with you.
Yeah. That's actually one of the downsides about the constant updates is that when you have a lot of the streaming services like I have here, just being a little bit behind, Sleeper, if you're listening, if you could not send out the instant notifications to the microsecond or millisecond of when it happens, that would be ideal, because I do like to let it, actually happen naturally or organically, instead of going, one of my players scored. I don't know. It takes away some of the excitement, but hey.
See, I think that's the beauty of people who stream now, because I cut the cord, and there's definitely like a minute or 45-second delay from when something actually happens on the field. I've noticed, at least. I guess it depends on the internet connection and speed and all that jazz.
Right.
But no, man, it's crazy. It's awesome. Jonathan Klanowski, just our UK, one of our UK writers, just put out a tweet saying, "I've never seen a sea of green and gold so vast in my entire life." So he must be having the time of his life, finally seeing his favorite team over in the UK.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. I'm happy for him. I hope he gets a good game. I know that. All right, here's another question. You're a team of X, Y, and Z. Well, I know who you're a fan of. I mean,
yeah. I'm wearing the hoodie. Yeah, exactly.
Not dumb. You go to a game of importance like this. You get a chance to go to London, and they're playing against not even the Cowboys. We'll say it's rival based,
like the Cardinals or something like that.
Sure, they're playing Arizona. Would you rather see 42-7 blowout, or would you rather see 24-21 last minute field goal that Washington wins?
Ooh, I'd rather see the close game. I understand the oh yeah, let's get the W, let's get the easy victory, but you spend all the money, you fly overseas, you do all the NFL Europe stuff, you soak in the environment, the experience, and then to end it on a cliffhanger piece of excitement versus just going there and it's like, well, the ending was kind of blah. No, I want to have the intensity. I can watch blowouts at home. I want to have the exhilaration, the thrill, cap off everything that's been going on.
Okay. Rather you win by blowout or you lose by a last second field goal? You gotta make a decision.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you want your team to win, but would I be, if I'm truly enjoying my experience, aka I'm drinking enough, I'm having a good time, I'm meeting people, I'm talking to people, if we lost by a field goal, I guess I would not be so upset compared to if I had just flew over there, didn't enjoy the experience, didn't get to soak it in and meet people and just get that whole vibe. Mm-hmm. And all I went there for was just the game. Then I'd be pissed. I flew all this way just to watch them lose.
That's fair. I can understand that. I can respect that. I don't know if there's ever a right or a wrong answer because it's impossible if you know the outcome to separate yourself. You know what I mean? That's the benefit of some of these intense games. Sorry. I might have a lot of Aaron Rodgers. You just asked me if I keep my phone next to me, and I can barely do a podcast without popping my head around the corner. And I've got this damn load bearing in this basement, the one beam.
I was right in front of you.
It's directly in front. When we moved the office. Now I could move everything over and watch. But I get it. You know what? I'll figure it out. I think I can multitask and just I'll live vicariously through you. You'll tell me when something happens because I'm sure you have a better setup than I do as far as that goes.
Actually, so my wife wanted the Roku upstairs in our bedroom last night, so I don't have actually anything to watch the game in my office. So you're literally the only hope here, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay, well, perfect. Then I will leave it on the old fantasydata.com's live updating.
That's what you're talking about. Okay, yeah, that's
no, that's not what I'm talking about. I just happen to have it on my computer so I can actually see it now, and
okay.
I don't need to look. I'll rely on you if anybody jumps in for any start sit questions and go.
Which by the way, I know she's not watching. She's not a morning person. I am completely a morning person on the weekends just because I wake up. It's not like I try to, but it just happens. Mm-hmm. And so I enjoy getting up early, doing things. I feel like there's more things to do in daylight outside and out, than there is, at night. And she's more of a night owl. And so finally I decided to say, you know what, I'll stay up super late. So we're up to 1:30 in the morning, 2:00 in the morning. And she's like, let's watch something that we both agree on. I'm like, fine. And so we're scrolling. I'm scrolling. And of course, this is not going anywhere productive. And
Nope.
then finally she's in her zone working on stuff for her side hustle. And I'm like, how about we just watch Beer Fest, the movie? I don't know where that came from, but it was the right decision because I had a fantastic time watching it, channeling my my post-college days. And
She enjoyed it?
oh hell no, she was solely in her zone of watching whatever. And in fact, she got up and left like during right before like the actual tournament at the end. I'm like, wait, you're leaving now? You this is what it's all about. And she's like, I'm good. I'm like, you're good. What does that mean? She's like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to finish the movie. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is a classic.
Yeah. How are you ever gonna learn how to conquer Das Boot if you don't watch the end?
Do you know, I actually, after that movie came out, I had a glass boot, 2-liter boot, custom made in Germany, and had it flown over to my house. Yeah. And then for Thanksgiving that year, I finished the boot, and then some buddy's like, well, I don't drink, but I'll chug water. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, cool.
So he chugs the water partially, and then he places the boot on the table and cracks the heel. And I'm like, you son of a gun. Yeah, exactly.
Dickhead.
That's how that glass goes out with water.
That is a touchdown. Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers to. It looks like Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard. Okay, so that's good. That's good for all around. Number one, good for Keen's Classic. Got that going. There's a touchdown. Good for a lot. I think Scott Fishbowl. I'm mostly just talking about myself here, so that's
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, do what I also have a Das Boot. I got it as a groomsman gift back in, probably 2004, 2005. Still there. Have not drank out of it in whenever. Carrie doesn't let me put it up anywhere, so it's over in the random mix corner. But it's okay. I mean, what am I gonna do? I mean, really, it's not a showpiece as much as it is awesome for that said movie.
No, sure.
What do you do? So
yeah, it's not really like hey, and over here is the Das Boot, but yeah.
Right, exactly.
Unfortunately, we got a question already. Hunter, what's going on YouTube?
What up, Hunter?
Waddle or Kirk? Man, I think I'm going to go Christian Kirk here. I think this matchup for the Jaguars versus the Texans just screams. Man, I want to say bad teams just going at it, but Jacksonville's not exactly a bad team, so it's kind of like the old stigma there. But I trust the Jaguars offense. So give me Christian Kirk over Teddy Bridgewater and the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like the idea also that number one, Houston is without Jonathan Grenard. So the time that Trevor Lawrence is going to have is going to be improved, assumedly. Rasheem Green and Jerry Hughes are still there, but it's come on.
Don't remind me about Jerry. Don't remind me about Jerry Hughes. Please.
It was a fine call, and maybe he'll have the couple sacks this game. But Derek Stingley is banged up. I don't know if he's. I don't know what level health he's at, and I know that's not the matchup but what it does do is it lines up with Zay Jones, and Zay Jones has that ability to at least isolate one-on-one and leave Kirk more, slot only type matchups. And I just, the way that Lawrence and Kirk have been connecting, I don't necessarily worry about any of the linebackers over the middle in terms of even Yak. So long, I guess we both are in agreement. It's Christian Kirk for me as well. Right. I also wonder where and what that connection, that Teddy Bridgewater, we want to see another week into it and how they grow. And I'm not knocking Teddy. What do you have Teddy at this week?
I currently have Teddy Bridgewater as my quarter. Let me sort here. That's probably the better way to go about it. I have him as my QB. Actually, I have him as my QB 16.
Okay.
I think the matchup versus the Jets just screams like, okay, Keith Fleming of the Daily Fix podcast here at Fantasy and Frames, he in our fantasy football upside article mentioned that he's rolling with Teddy to exceed his Fantasy Pros ECR, which is currently at 20. So I'm not too far away from where the ECR is. But that being said, yeah, I can definitely see Bridgewater rolling in there versus the Jets and just, Not doing anything crazy, but he has the arm to get the ball downfield. He can make all the throws. He can run, even though he's not technically, a scrambling quarterback. He can do that. He has done it before. So, yeah, that's where I have him at 16.
Yeah, I mean, so Kirk and Waddle, surprisingly, I actually have almost back to back. I do have Kirk ahead by 1, maybe 2, but good problem to have, And
absolutely,
so, we got another one here. I'll let you go ahead and run through.
What's up, Chris? He says, "Hey guys, half PPR DJ Moore or Donovan Peoples-Jones? I've pretty much given up on Panthers wide receivers." So I'm glad you asked this because I was looking up grades and ratings of like the worst corner covers, the worst coverage cornerbacks, and I swear I was looking at the one for Carolina. And I swear it's where Donovan Peoples-Jones lines up, and immediately when I saw this question, I'm like, "Oh, give me Donovan Peoples-Jones," and it sucks because I so want it to be DJ Moore.
See, I don't. I'm the opposite because I look at that matchup and I think that if I'm gonna compare, number one, assumingly that Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to line up with Asante Samuel Jr. is my guess. Okay. If not, it's J.C. Jackson. It's not like that's any better. But I just don't trust. I don't trust Jacoby Brissett to be able to produce.
Oh, I said that's so stupid. I said that like those teams are facing each other and they're not facing each other. You're right. I'm sorry. The Browns are facing the Chargers. Yep. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay.
No.
Disregard everything I just said.
Exactly. No, but I will say the DJ Moore matchup is not a great one. I mean, we know San Francisco is going to have tons of pressure on Baker. Baker's 11 targets, I believe it was last week to DJ Moore, was optimistic until you realize that none of them are doing anything. He can't stretch the field. Doesn't look, I guess, I don't know, comfortable in the pocket. DJ Moore can, I mean, if you have 11 targets and you have 6 catches for 40 yards, I mean, that's still better than Donovan Peoples-Jones to me. Personally, I think you have to just, suck it up, unfortunately, and deal with the fact that Carolina receivers are not what we were hoping for. Maybe we'll get a DJ Moore positive game, but I don't. I see 10 targets again. I see 5 to 6 catches and maybe 60 yards, and you hope to get a touchdown out of that. But he's got, between Emmanuel Mosley and then in the secondary, if he does work over the middle, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner are both great in coverage. So it's tough, but I still lean DJ Moore.
Well, let's not forget, like, even though Hufanga has been playing more of a box safety role, he can play in coverage. You saw that pick 6 last week.
Absolutely.
So that helped me in a fantasy matchup. So San Francisco is just scary all around. I 100% agree with that. Hunter's back.
Let's see.
Start 2, sit 1. Najee, Williams, or Pierce. So I am very high on the players in this Jaguars and Texans matchup. So give me Pierce, and when it comes to Jamal Williams versus the Patriots, or Najee versus the who are they?
Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Flip a coin. I'm going to go with the high scoring offense. I'm going to go Jamal Williams.
That's what I'm going to take as well. I have Jamal 1 ahead. I have Damien Pierce actually ranked a little bit below Najee, and I think I might move those around. So interesting thing about this Buffalo-Pittsburgh game is that Buffalo obviously will be facing off against Kenny Pickett in his first career start. Buffalo has won 8 of the past 11 matchups against people in their first career starts on the heels of forcing 17 interceptions across those games. I see something similar happening in this game where the pressure that they put, even despite the lack of this in secondary with no Jordan Poyer, no Micah Hyde, I could see this game really being a little more turnover heavy for the Steelers and therefore keeping Najee off the field. They would be smart just to try to, run the ball, but I don't know if that's going to bode well. The key to pay attention to is if Tremaine Edmonds is out, I might consider Najee over Jamal. But I think I'm going to go with the same 2 that you picked. As bad as it may hurt, because I know Najee was probably your first round pick.
Right.
It's the better thing to do.
Well, two things with that. One, and Dave Ibrahim, who will be on with us in a little bit from Fantasy Go, aka Connect Go, said it brilliantly on our first pregame show after week 1. Your draft capital importance ended at the end of the draft. Because, you know, like you just said, Najee was probably a first round pick for yours. If people are not producing, you do not have to put them in your lineup.
Yeah. No,
period. So don't think that. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, you have the issue with the pass rush for Buffalo getting to Pickett before he can get to these playmakers down the field. So it would make sense that they emphasize the running game, but yeah, no. So I agree. Thank you. I'm glad that we're in agreement for 2 for 2.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that or not. That's too easy. And you know, and also I'm interested to see just how much Kenny Pickett involves Najee in the passing game after a week removed, where for the first time that I went back quite a ways and I didn't see, and I mean, I guess the farthest I can go back is last year to week 1, but that's a long ways for me. You know, I mean, I have OCD and ADHD and bouncing around when I start doing fantasy because I'll get in a rabbit hole. That's the worst thing about doing research, kind of like this little monologue I'm doing, is as soon as I start finding something, I'm like, oh, he didn't catch a pass. I was like, when was the last time he didn't catch a pass? And I wasn't even looking for that. I was looking for something completely different. I was looking, just counting receiving snaps. And all of a sudden that manifested itself because on PFF, they don't list your receiving snaps if you don't have a target, it doesn't look like. And so I thought, oh man, Najee didn't even run a single route. I was like, that can't be right. But he did, but he didn't receive a target for the first time in forever. Right. So I don't know if that's a product of Kenny Pickett. And Hunter says it was his second round pick. He got Jefferson at pick 7, which, dude, I bet after the draft, if I was you, Hunter, I would have been ecstatic. I'd be like, yeah, right, man. I got a 300, touchback. I got my wide receiver 1 or 2. I mean, depending upon how you want to rank them.
Potentially the number 1 wide receiver or number 2 wide receiver at the end.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah. I mean, where you had him ranked, because I know a lot of people. I took Jefferson over Kupp in a few different drafts just to diversify.
Yep. Same.
But
same.
We were talking about Buffalo Pittsburgh. Did you have something?
No, I was just going to quickly just plug everything that they can find. They, as in the viewers who are looking for more start-sit analysis as far as players to start and sit, head over to our website, fantasyandframes.com. Read our start-sits on offense. Read our starts for IDP. We try and give you 4 at each position. So we give you a breakdown of our key starts and sits and starts of the week. And then we also do an article series called Fantasy Football Upside, where we basically are looking at the rankings set forth by fantasy pros and their half PPR scoring. And we're saying to all of you, hey, we did our research on these players. These are the players who you want to chase in terms of their upside this week, because we feel that they have such a great matchup and or they are playing so well that they're kind of matchup proof to a certain degree that we think you need to start these players if you're having any injury issues. So head over there to fantasyandframes.com today for that. We have that for both offense as well as for IDP. And then we have Lester, aka Les. I don't know why I keep calling him Lester. He likes to be called Les, but there's something about just the name Lester. I like saying the name Lester. So Les, he puts our article out. He does Fantasy Football FYI, where he's giving you some information this week on buy lows and sell highs of players that you may be thinking, hey, bye weeks are coming up. I may want to upgrade my my roster here. So check that out also at fantasyandframes.com. And of course, Nate and I and a bunch of us have our half PPR rankings up there on our rankings page, as well as our IDP rankings. So check us out over there. Subscribe on our YouTube page. If you have inclinations to look at pictures versus to reading content, or we have over to our Instagram page. We have all that stuff set up over there too. So However you want to get information, we have it for you. So head over to fantasyandframes.com today.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on today, too. I mean, we're a quarter into this game here, and Saquon is on pace for 16 targets so far. Now, granted, he hasn't turned those into anything yet, but I like the idea of potential, and the potential targets are there. He still needs to actually, have more than the one reception for -4 yards, but give it time. It's Daniel Jones. It's first quarter and, kind of a big game. I think maybe the calming of the nerves, and hopefully we'll get some Giants action here. There's so much in this game as far as I know that's every game has a lot of fantasy involvement, but
like there's the running back ones. One in fantasy, Aaron. Yeah, I got you. I'm with you. I got you.
It'd be interesting to see. So what we slightly touched on Buffalo, Pittsburgh,
right?
And it is obviously Kenny Pickett's first start. Kenny Pickett is not something that I'm necessarily even looking to concern myself with this week. Josh Allen is an every week must start, but the Najee talk is intriguing because you are faced with that sometimes, with having that question. And at what point do we think that the workload, is it already getting to Najee, or you think it's just a product of the offensive line and just this offense as a whole?
I mean, I'm going to be very Booger McFarland with this. Bad teams definitely don't have a lot of high producing players. And I just feel like you're right. The offensive line for Pittsburgh is just such a liability. And it amazes me that they didn't really address it too well in the offseason or at all. And Tomlin comes out and he's like, well, we're going to feature Najee Harris less. We're going to put less miles on him. I'm like, why? Like, you don't have that luxury to just say, hey, we're going to take one of our best players and use him less when we need all the help we can get. I don't know. I found that very odd. So yeah, it's, I think it's a product of a lot of things. I will say though, having a quarterback in there who's mobile, who can scramble, who's precise, who's accurate, which we're trying to figure out if Kenny Pickett is those things, considering he threw 3 picks last week to start his first NFL game, not to start his first NFL game, to come in and relief in his first NFL game.
Right.
That notwithstanding, if they can get the passing game open, I think that's obviously going to free up Najee a little bit more because they have because then defenses won't be keying in on the line of scrimmage so much.
Yeah, and 2 of those were bad throws, bad decisions. The third interception was just a chuck that led to an interception. I think those should, I don't know, from a statistical standpoint, you should probably take that as like those Hail Mary jump balls shouldn't count as interceptions, personally speaking, because especially if you're trying to, I guess I don't want to say contracts are decided entirely by interception totals, etc. But there is some relevancy of looking back at a person's season and seeing 2 to 3 extra interceptions if they were Hail Marys. And yet we kind of look at a kicker that if they miss a 65, 66 yarder to end the game, no one's like, well, there's Justin Tucker with another missed field goal. What a piece of trash. It's just forgotten, and that's okay. But I mean, I guess at the end of the year, you see it and it says field goals made and field goals missed, and that's a miss. So
yeah,
it is what it is. Go. What you got? Devin Singletary.
Devin Singletary. What?
I have a question for Devin about Devin Singletary.
Oh, okay. Let's answer Vade's question first, and then we'll get to the Devin Singletary question. He's like, I got 2 questions, 2 question picks. Pick 2. Thielen, Lockett, DJ Moore, the first 2 for me. Pick 1, Damien Harris or Antonio Gibson. Well, considering I put Antonio Gibson as my featured sit running back of the week, I'm going to go Damien Harris. I personally, in this Patriots backfield, think this is going to be a huge Ramondre Stevenson game. But that being said, in my Start and Sit article, I put out look, Harris has great flex upside. As your RB3 or flex position. If you have to start him as your RB2, okay. he may get you, 12, 13 points, and Stevenson may get you in the 20s, but that's still 13 points. Is still solid production. Harris has been solid all season. Gibson, Nate, you were talking about Antonio Gibson as a sit in our Fourth and Frames episode on Wednesday. About his ever decreasing role in usage. We even saw an uptick in usage last week with J.D. McKissick running the ball, who looked actually a lot better in certain sense than Gibson. Brian Robinson is upgraded to the active roster, which kudos to him for 2 months removed from being shot in the leg to now being able to play a football game on the professional level. That's crazy. So yeah, that's what I pick. Thielen, Lockett, and then Harris. What about you, Nate?
I'm definitely on the Damien Harris. Detroit allowed 10 rushing touchdowns on the season. Even if Ramondre is more heavily involved, I still see a path to both of these two running backs potentially eclipsing that RB2 threshold in the same game. I think that the goal line work can definitely go to Damien Harris. He could get 50, 60 yards on the ground, somewhat between the 20s, while still taking advantage. Because the one thing that Detroit does on defense is they do blitz heavy. They are the third highest blitz percentage team in the league. And I think that's a chance where if you're New England, you either test how Ramondre is going to do in pass pro and keep him out there, or potentially you have him even block and then bump out. Bailey Zappi is going to be the interesting part to see exactly how he handles any dump offs and gets Ramondre into the game itself. But touchdown wise, goal line, I'm still going to lean Damien Harris over Gibson. It sucks too, because I was really hoping Gibson was going to continue to earn that the playing time, which just, I don't know, something is amiss with him. And I don't know if it's just because he's in Rivera's doghouse a little bit too, and Rivera had no other choice but to play him. But
yeah, see, I wonder if those are two mutually exclusive things, whether or not he didn't have a choice versus being in the. I don't know. There's something. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
Mick over here on Facebook, full point PPR. I need 2 out of 3. Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, or Jeff Wilson Jr. We were just talking about the potential involvement or lack thereof last week of Najee Harris and whether or not this would happen this week. Man, isn't it crazy that 2 out of these running backs, the first 2, were first-round picks that were immediately set it and forget it players last year, and now we're like, do I? Don't I? And we're only like a few months removed from when people were drafting these teams. Who would you pick here first, Nate? Let's go with you this time.
I mean, Dalvin's a guaranteed bang for sure. There's no question about that. The question, man, between Najee and Jeff Wilson, I have Najee higher than Jeff Wilson, despite the fact that I think the matchup is probably better for Jeff Wilson. Carolina's not terrible against the run as a whole. It's going to be getting players like, without Jeremy Chin, and I know that that's not the end-all be-all when run stopping, but he does play a significant role in that run D. I'm going to go Najee and Dalvin, but I can understand if you make the case for Jeff Wilson.
I'll go also with Dalvin and Najee, but I will say that Jeff Wilson is not somebody you just should write off. However, I feel like Najee's floor is Jeff Wilson's ceiling. But there's no guarantee of Najee's floor, and obviously, and I think we also have to pay attention to, like you were mentioning earlier, Nate, Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker for the Bills, whether or not he's going to be active or not. That'll make this decision a lot easier. But definitely start with Cook and Harris. I'm with you there.
Cool.
Let's go to the next game here. We got Chargers in Cleveland. We talked about this a little bit. Myles Garrett is returning, and a week ago I was like, yeah, Jerry Hughes is going to match up against this inexperienced left tackle, and then turns out they didn't even play the left tackle that I thought they were going to play, who played lights out versus the Texans. Well, now he gets to deal with Myles Garrett this week, which that doesn't really bode well for Justin Herbert or any quarterback when that happens. If there's anybody here on offense, no Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler had his coming out party of the season last week. What are your thoughts on? Let's talk about Eckler, because he's been kind of one of those underperforming top picks in fantasy this year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he carries this thing going? Or do you think the linebackers can slow him down, or what are your thoughts here?
I think last week we saw that they needed a boost out of someone, and they looked Austin Eckler's way, and they obviously got that. I mean, as far as for the best numbers of the season, he averaged over 4.5 yards per carry instead of sub 3 for the first time. He punching the 2 touchdowns in. I'm not going to use that as the end all be all, but at the same time, now it's that good blend of rush and receiving, because he's had reception or target totals of 10, 8, and now 7 the last 3 weeks. From a half or a full point PPR standpoint, Eckler, just in the receiving work alone, was getting it done. The question had always been, man, when are the touchdowns going to follow? I didn't expect it to jump straight to 3, but it was nice to see the trust in the red zone, getting the work there, and then the same type of scenario this week. You're down on offense. The offensive line is it was banged up. Obviously, like you mentioned, that was a key element in that game, was that it wasn't Storm, who was over on the left tackle side. The hell was Storm something? I can't remember anymore.
Storm Norton.
Yes, that's it. I think that's right. That sounds right.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna go with. Either way, he was terrible, and so they brought in Jam Sawyer, and he actually played amazing. Him, and then Pipkins is Pipkins, and that's where I think maybe you talk about Myles Garrett, where Jadeveon Clowney, if playing, has a potential for a good game. But going back to Austin Eckler, yeah, it's still Eckler. I think there was a chance to maybe buy low. I don't know if that window's closed completely or not, but if you were drafting today, let me ask you this: where would you take Eckler?
End of the first round.
And that's about where I would take him as well. I think that there's maybe a potential that he would slip into the second, maybe a couple picks in, but I would be fine with that. I think going forward, just that receiving upside is worth it.
Which it's crazy to think that, because you would think that with the lack of receiving options at wide receiver, because Keenan Allen has now missed a month. I think now it's been 4 weeks. That the reception upside would be leaning towards Eckler's side, but it just, for whatever reason, just hasn't been the case. So I don't know. It's weird. Nick has another question here. Yeah. Full point PPR flex, Hollywood or DK?
Man,
I'm going to go DK. I feel like the secondary for the Eagles is just too legit to quit, if you're getting the reference there.
I don't want that reference anymore.
It's like, never use that reference ever again.
Yeah, don't ever do that again.
Yeah, thank you. Hey. So I'm going to go DK Metcalf with this. What about you?
Yeah, I lean DK. I hate the matchup more than I do as far as one-on-ones, just because you have to assume. I mean, again, assumption-wise. And I don't know the history of DK and Marshawn Lattimore, if they have one. Right. Lattimore has, a really good track record against a lot of other big receivers, a la Mike Evans more than anything. But I still got to trust that DK and Geno Smith has looked really good. It's shocking. I mean, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he still leads the NFL in completion percentage. He looks DK's way. Granted, we knew it was Tyler Lockett season for the first couple weeks, but I'm going to lean DK. As much as I like Hollywood, I still think that if I had to find a person who, in tough matchups, contested catch, red zone targets, I'm going to lean DK's direction in that.
Yep. Cool. All right. Thanks, Mick, for the back-to-back questions. If you have any more, folks, just head over and ask us here live this morning. Mm-hmm. The Cleveland side of the ball, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt as a flex here. Tyler has him in our Chasing Upside article. As the running back, one of his running backs that have upside, versus this Chargers team. Drew Tranquil, for IDP purposes as well as just for overall defenses purposes, has seen his name's been floating around there a lot more lately. In previous seasons, he hasn't really been what you would call a true run-stopping linebacker. Does that impact you, whether you want to insert Kareem Hunt into your lineup or not? Or is Hunt just one of those? Are these running backs just must starts week in and week out?
Yeah, I mean Chubb is a must start. Chubb is a must start RB1. Hunt is flex worthy, and I'm probably would start him in most situations, unless I just have an absolute, banger pick to choose over that. The key is, like you said, Cleveland wants to run the ball, and they can run the ball. They're by far the most effective rushing team in the NFL, and they can get both heavy workloads. Stefanski's done a great job of that. The biggest thing is, will they have to pass? And that's, will it come to that? Can you only run so much until you're trailing by 14 and you need to start putting the ball in the air, even if it is Jacoby Brissett? And that's it's a great segue to this question that Vade has, though, because I think it's pertinent. It's
You're good.
It's Amari Cooper against this team or for this team, or Josh Jacobs in the flex. And we just saw Josh Jacobs come off by far the best game in, maybe 2 years for Jacobs. Right. I haven't looked into it, but it's against what has quite possibly been one of the better, if not actually the best, rush defense in the NFL, in the Kansas City Chiefs. And so that's intriguing.
Yeah, no, it is.
What does it say? Is that full point?
Yeah, he didn't say. Vade, if you could throw that into the chat, whether or not it's a full point or a half or non, that'd be great to know. That being said, we saw Josh Jacobs have a really good game, but I've seen Amari Cooper have more consistently. And they're going to have to throw. We were talking about Donovan Peoples-Jones earlier, but one of the things that concerns me is going back to week 2. We all thought Donovan Peoples-Jones, based off the matchup, based off the targets, was going to see the uptick over Amari Cooper. And what did the coaching staff do? They put Amari Cooper where Donovan Peoples-Jones was lining up the previous week, and Amari Cooper got 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
I think you're going to see something similar to that, where they just basically move Amari Cooper around to wherever the best matchup is. So I'm going to roll with Cooper this week. He says it's full points.
Yeah. And and Jacobs has been really involved in the passing game the last 2 weeks. He has 11 targets, 10 catches over the last 2 weeks. Not a ton of yardage, only 62 yards out of that. But, that's 11 points or 10 points just in receptions. But I'm going to still lean Amari Cooper as well. I think that, like we just kind of alluded to, it does turn into a game where they are going to be asked to pass the ball a little bit more than just rely exclusively on the run game. Give me Amari Cooper, and yep, I'm gonna stick with it. Keep one. You go and it's like, man, I trust that the Raiders are gonna have to try to keep the ball in the air too to stop this potent Chiefs offense. I say potent until you look at the game against Indy, which is just doesn't make any sense after watching Thursday night game. If that's not a testament to the NFL and any given Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever day of the week it is that they're playing, you can lose to the Colts, beat everybody else, and the Colts can play a AAA JV style game. It was pretty gross.
That was hard to watch.
Here. Yeah.
That was hard to watch.
Anthony Ruffin. Anthony, good morning. He has a pick 2 full point PPR. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, James Robinson, Damian Pierce, Drake London, Dalvin Cook. Holy crap. That's amazing. That has to suck every week. If this has to be a decision every week, except now we have the buys coming up. So maybe some of these picks will be reduced.
Right. Yeah. So
Go ahead.
yeah. So I said earlier in our show that I am all aboard this Jaguars Texans game. So I think you should start James Robinson. I think you should start Damien Pierce. But we're talking about PPR, where the target's going. So my first thought here is going to this Bucks Falcons game, which no Kyle Pitts. Yes, the Bucks do have a good secondary, um, but the targets will be there. And last week we started to see Chris Godwin get more involved in this passing game. So I think maybe you're going to see more of the targets keep going to him this week. Evans was exactly who Evans is, a deep threat, big body wide receiver in the end zone and red zone. I was fading London this week. I have him as one of my sits that you can do better at, but it's the PPR. That's the thing. The targets will be there. I'm going to go London and Godwin. What about you, Nate?
I have a hard time getting away from Dalvin Cook. I mean, here's this Bears team. They've given up, NFL leading 733 yards rushing. I mean, that's over 5 yards a carry. Granted, I know Dalvin only has the one touchdown, but even banged up this past week against a tough, stout New Orleans team, they trusted him to carry the ball 20 times, got 76 yards, was involved a little bit less in the receiving game. In the weeks 1 and 2, he had 11 targets combined, and they've gone away. I could see them really, really just, leaning on Dalvin early and just beating up this Bears team, getting the workload in. And I mean, I could see another touchdown game and 90+ yards. The second one is the tough one, though, for me. Like, I'm going to say Dalvin, and this is where it's challenging because, like you touched on, I do love that Jacksonville game, and I think that is setting up for a James Robinson type workload. But man, Drake London without Kyle Pitts, he's already getting nearly 30% of the 30% target share, or he is over 30%. What that can evolve into, I don't know if it's going to be an increase in workload. I just worry about them actually scoring, and so I'm going to go with I'm going to go. Oh, let's see who I have to make sure. I don't want to be talking out of my butt and then have a person go like, well, dude, but in your rankings, you have James Robinson ahead of Damien Pierce. And I have Damien Pierce ahead of James Robinson, and I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go Damien Pierce and Dalvin Cook.
So Anthony's saying in the chat, sorry, pick three. One running back, one wide receiver, one flex. Okay, that's a little okay.
Gotcha. Who's your running back?
Mine, Robbie. I'm going to go J. Rob. You're going Dalvin Cook, so that makes sense. Mm-hmm. One wide receiver. I'm going Godwin, and a flex for me would be.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Godwin, and my flex would be Pierce as well. I'm right there with you. Nice. God, multitude of riches.
Seriously. Got Vade here with another lineup question. Pick two, one running back, wide receiver, or two wide receiver, not two running back. Okay, a lot of conditional statements here. Mm-hmm. So let's go one running back, one wide receiver. He's got Lockett, Cooper, Chase, Ramondre. Ramondre must start. I feel he's my must start of the week. So yeah, I'm already going one running him, one wide receiver.
Lockett or Cooper?
Cooper. It's going to be Cooper and Ramondre, one of each.
Yeah, that would be mine as well. I don't think that would start Lockett and Cooper instead of Ramondre and either or. I would start Ramondre and either Lockett or Cooper over starting the two receivers and none of the backs. As much as I want Chase Edmonds to happen, I just... I think Chase Edmonds the thing is it's been wonky timing, like with each one, because like in the game, like 2 weeks ago, he had an opportunity for two, almost, could have had a potential for 3 touchdowns in the game. He dropped the one in the end zone, and then he had a breakaway. Well, he had a lane that closed up too soon. He didn't make the right cut, and it's those type of games that come few and far in between for Chase. It's it's frustrating. So, yeah, Ramondre and Coop, I like that.
There we go. We got another question here. Do I play Najee Harris or Godwin in my flex?
Interesting.
I
Half or full, I wonder.
Yeah. 808D013. If you could, wow, that's like a droid number.
Maybe it is a droid. Maybe you are. We finally cracked into the
the Star Wars universe, and R2D2's cousin is meshing. Here we go.
Well, he would know the answer to that.
Full Bob Dole. I don't get the reference, but I'm sure somebody does. He says full PPR. Give me Godwin. The last person I want to face is a pissed off Tom Brady. And let's face it, if he didn't have reason enough to be pissed off after last week's game versus the Chiefs, well, all the other stuff that's going on. And by the way, did you see Antonio Brown's posting today?
No. On which media platform?
On the Twitter.
On the Twitterverse. No, I not. Let me. Is it share worthy, or is this
it's share? It's nothing's needed to be blurred out. It's just really messed up. I'm an idiot. So anyhow, yes, I would roll with Godwin.
Gotcha. What all right, now you gotta fill me in because I don't see for some reason.
It was a picture of a book saying "Daddy doesn't live here anymore." Children's book for dealing with divorce.
Get out of here!
No, it was.
It's deleted now.
Yeah, it's epically messed up. This dude needs to get corrected and checked by life hardcore.
Yeah, he
things you don't go after. That's one of them,
dude. I mean, especially when he took him into his home and
I know, right?
All kinds of things. That's yeah.
You don't tug on Superman's cape, and you don't do messed up things with people's family. That's just
exactly
how I view things. Yeah.
Now we need bad Leroy Brown to go to his house, and isn't that what that's from?
I think so.
You don't tug on Superman's cape from bad Leroy Brown. Jim Croce, I believe, is who sang that song.
Yes, it is. Let's go here to the Bears and the Vikings. Man, I was having fun with this Khalil Herbert thing, and now David Montgomery's back. So the question here is Khalil Herbert going to be still somebody that you think is viable versus this Minnesota front who looked kind of vulnerable last week against Mark Ingram and Latavius Murray? Granted, didn't give up a huge chunk of yards there, but still there were runs where Minnesota was just letting them walk right through. So curious to hear what your thoughts are for this Bears team, because I know this passing offense is going to be not something that people are going to be afraid of. What are your thoughts there, Nate?
Man, it's the offense as a whole for Chicago just is, utterly confusing, because here's a team that can definitely establish the run. We've seen that, and they need to continue to do that. And yet, for a team that's so good against the run, normally speaking, that sets up a passing attack that can be dynamic, takes a lot of the pressure off, because typically they're not rushing if you're concerned with their running game being able to get into the second line of defense and beyond. And it's the exact opposite. So they allow nearly 35 to 37% pressure rate on dropbacks, which is, leads the league by maybe the highest percentage of any separation between one position and the next. In fact, actually, it's a higher separation between first and second than it is like second and eighth overall. Right. And it's that interior up the middle. And I wrote a little bit about Dalvin Tomlinson, in that if you have a defensive tackle heavy league, or a defensive tackle league that you have to start one, the upside for Tomlinson this week to me is immense. He gets a matchup up the middle that is just, let's put it this way. If you sort on PFF by pass blocking, and then you do the reverse where you go by the worst. The worst. So you're not trying to see the best, and you're like, who's the worst out there? Gotcha. That's Sam Mustafer. And Sam Mustafer is the center for the Bears, and he has allowed 8 pressures, 5. So of that, 5 hurries, 2 hits, and a sack. from a center, it is. I mean, there's very few that have allowed 8+ pressures in up the middle at all. And then you have a Dalvin Tomlinson that is as big a presence in the middle, anchored with Danielle Hunter on the outside. You have this pass rush, pedigree on this team. I think it's a long day for Chicago. I really do.
For more of these awesome IDP fantasy upside picks, head over to fantasyandframes.com today and read Nate's article on that. It's gonna be a long day. It's gonna be a long day for there. On the flip side, for the Vikings, going into the season and in seasons past, I've always been like, Kirk Cousins is just one of those like, all right, he's a serviceable enough quarterback that I can just roll with week in and week out. Is he still that guy, Nate? Do you think? Because let's look at his performances the past few weeks. I mean,
yeah. So it's the last 2 weeks, 260 plus. Every other week is 2 touchdowns. So this would be that every other week now. So if it's any consolation, there's a little truth in that. But from a scoring standpoint, it has been a little up and down. I mean, you have a QB 1 week, QB 30 week, or QB 2 really week, right. Another QB 1, and then another QB 2. The matchup against the Bears for my taste, if you're smart, you just prioritize the rushing game, because like I said, the Bears have given up the most yards rushing on the season. Granted, the touchdowns have been there, so if you see a scoring metric where it's like, oh, the Bears haven't given up the most yards or the most points to opposing running backs, it's a lot to do with the fact that they've only allowed the 5 touchdowns so far. And I say only because when you look at teams in the top 4 or 5 that allow the most yards rushing, you see somebody like Detroit who's allowed 10 touchdowns, but 5 touchdowns, still plenty. The passing defense, though, for the Bears, I'd say has been good, but it's kind of the product of that whole, adage that if you're giving up 700 yards on the ground, there's not enough time to give up more than 700 yards passing, which is about where they're at. So, they're just getting destroyed. So if they want to lean on Dalvin and maybe Madison potentially, I think that it might be a little bit of a challenge for Cousins to give you that top 6, top 7 overall. But I still feel comfortable with Cousins. Too many weapons. It just seems like it's a little inconsistent. But at the end of the day, I would still trust him. If he was my, especially super flex, I'm more than happy with that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's head over to New England and Detroit. Man, is Amon-Ra still, is he out or is he playing? I think that's the thing I need to check in here.
Yeah, game time is last I saw.
Yeah, so if he's playing, then you're starting him. Jamal Williams, you're starting. Hawkinson and Goff are, I guess, the big questions here. Hawkinson, let's look at his usage last week.
Mm-hmm.
He got you, it's 12 targets. Yeah. Yeah, 31. Yeah, he got you a bunch. And Tyler Heil, our dynasty director here at Fantasy and Frames, on our Fourth and Frames podcast last week, was mentioning, look, what's one thing that Bill Belichick likes to do? He likes to take away your best options here. And I guess he was anticipating that being just Hawkinson, because at the time of last Wednesday, we weren't sure whether St. Brown was going to be playing or not. If he does play,
mm-hmm.
If you had to flip a coin between Amon-Ra St. Brown and TJ Hawkinson, who would you be more confident in? I'm not saying who would you start, because I feel like you would say Amon-Ra 9 times out of 10, but who would you be more comfortable starting, Amon-Ra or Hawkinson?
I would still be more comfortable in starting Amon-Ra.
Okay.
Despite the truth that Belichick and the Pats do try to shut down the most dynamic weapon. But if that's, here's the thing, that could very easily be Hawkinson, because the key to Patriots defense is realistically, just keep the play in front of you and stop the chains from moving. And that's a Hawkinson role, not much more than Amon-Ra, but you know what I mean? I think that Amon-Ra's going to get his no matter what. As much as I know that the Patriots are, it's a Bill Belichick-led defense. They're always going to be tough, but I look on the outside, man. I'm trying to break this down and look and see if there's any distinct mismatches that the Lions can take advantage of. And banged up Amon-Ra scares me though a little bit.
Yeah. Just got a report in on the good old sleeper app that Julio is out, but Russell Gage will play. So there we go.
Yeah.
Brian Ford joining the show. St. Brown expected to play, quote unquote.
Cool. That's good news then.
All right. For the Patriots, let's see here. For IDP purposes for the Lions, let's do both. Rodrigo must start now, or is he? Let me preface this because I feel like we need to do a better job of like what's considered like a win when projecting player performance, what's considered a loss. My thought process is that if you fall into either an LB 1, 2, or 3 category, then that's a win. And obviously LB1 is the highest one. Then you have the mid, then you have the low win. But those three, assuming you're starting 3 linebackers, right? I guess we have to take that assumption. Do you think Rodrigo or Malcolm Rodriguez is an LB3, LB2 this week versus the Patriots, who again, Billy Zappe is going to be the quarterback. It's supposed to be it should be pretty run heavy, which definitely helps his upside. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, and I like Rodrigo. The one thing about it is that his his snap totals have continued to stay on the rise. He's not at 100% workload. I think we know that, but even at 75%, what he's doing is maintaining that level, that floor with the production. And I don't think he's doing it in a unsustainable manner either. I feel like everything that he's doing, it's not blown up. It's not a 30% snap share and 13 tackles, something crazy where he has like a 28% tackle rate or anything outlandish. He just, high motor guys, and he has a sense for the ball. And I just like what I've seen. And if you look at, like for me, the one area against New England especially is that, hash in, and that inside the hash marks is where New England will probably live this game. I don't know if we can trust Bailey Zappa to spread the ball yet. We haven't seen anything necessarily. I mean, I didn't watch him at Western Kentucky to know much about him. I didn't even know he went to Western Kentucky until really watching a couple things on him. And granted,
I just learned that. So there we go.
Yeah, but that's a product of me not paying as close attention to college as I probably should, no doubt. And that's shame
right there with you.
But I'll get
Bailey Zappe played better than Mac Jones. I think the Patriots have a better chance of winning. I mean, look, the Patriots are probably going to finish 3rd or 4th in their division, right? But they got a better chance of winning with Bailey Zappe under center rather than Mac Jones. Mac Jones doesn't have a deep pass. Yeah, he's just looking for little short intermediary routes. He can't run. Yeah, Zappe looked a lot better. I'm not saying Zappe was a stud, but a lot better than Mac Jones.
Mac Jones can do the gritty though. Why are you all off on?
He can gritty on someone else's team, man. Yeah.
So you're willing to cut? You're willing to say, okay, you got a 1st round pick. Now going into next season will be 2 years ago, and you're really just to cut the cord and say, hey, Bailey, team is yours.
Well, you guys know I've been screaming this since day one. I don't like Mac Jones. I think Patriots have a better chance with Cam Newton under center than Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is probably, out of 32 quarterbacks, he's probably 32.
Okay. I've never been
I'll be right back. 1 second.
Enamored with him. I kind of was hoping that maybe a system would be placed around him that would be conducive. I mean, he doesn't have much. I'm not trying to take away anything from Mac. I mean, I don't blame you. And I probably would too. I just don't know if you started rattling off Jacoby Myers and Devontae Parker and some of the other names, if that's enough. But, we've seen quarterbacks do more with as much or a little bit less. I don't know. I think that just harkens back to what, Jorge was asking me about the New England offense. And I think they're going to definitely try to establish a rushing attack and a run game. And if that's the case, Malcolm Rodriguez, who we were talking about, on the season, he leads this Lions linebacking core. He leads the Lions team in run play tackling. mean, he's involved in that run game with very little. I mean, a 4% missed tackle rate. Everything screams Malcolm Rodriguez to have that 8-9 tackle. I hate to call it a floor, but I'm going to call it a floor against this New England team.
Look what a good quarterback does. Patrick Mahomes, right? Lost Tyreek Hill. His best receiver is probably Juju or MVS. He has still played like a stud this year. Justin Herbert lost Keenan Allen. He has made a look. I mean, Mike Williams is great, don't get me wrong, but Josh Palmer and all those guys, he just still makes it happen. A good quarterback makes it happen regardless of who he's got around him. And I just don't think, Mac and that Patriots offense has enough juice to be of that caliber anyway.
Yeah. And Brian backs up what you're saying, all floor, no ceiling. And I agree. Yeah. I think that's a game. I mean, that's like what you ask out of a game manager, unfortunately. Yeah. Which is disappointing because I don't think that's the way to win ball games. It's the way to, to try to not lose ball games. It's to prevent defensive quarterback play, not exactly the optimal route. And unfortunately, that sucks because, like in Scott Fish, I took Mac Jones because in a quarterback efficiency standard, Mac's great because he doesn't throw the ball more than 5-6 yards. Hell, I can't do that. I was getting ready to say I could, but I think we all say that. Oh, I could throw it 5 yards. No, we couldn't. There was no chance. We couldn't get over the lineman's head. We couldn't. We'd freak out. Panic would set in. We're panicked. Look at this. 25 people panicking with us on who to set their fantasy football lineups, let alone try to throw a pass to a receiver when you have Malcolm Rodriguez or Aiden Hutchinson blitzing on you. So we have a question here. Good morning, Ryan. Which Eagles corner do you think will cover Hollywood Brown today? I'm debating on who. Sorry. Go ahead.
Finish. He's debating on whether it's Brown or Joshua Palmer today. Standard, non-PPR. I think it's Slay who's supposed to be lining up against Brown. Assuming that Slay is left and Brown is right, which I think that is correct.
Yeah.
But that being the case, I don't really care who is lining up with who. I'm staying away from these Cardinals wide receivers this week. What I'm trying to say is both of these cornerbacks for the Eagles just shut down opposing wide receivers. So it wouldn't matter if it was Slay or if it was Bradbury. Both of them would present tough matchups. So yeah, and the Cardinals offense just looks utterly defunct. So I mean, that's a tough question. It's hard for me to say start Josh Palmer, but I will say Josh Palmer has the better matchup versus Cleveland versus the.
Firstly, I'll go Brown. I'm more impressed with the proper grammar and even the formal nature of this message. Good morning. I mean, I was expecting a kind regards at the end. He's even got proper spacing. He's using capitals and everything. Even the brackets, they're perfect. So maybe he's an English major.
Mm-hmm. But you see, Jorge, it's standard league.
Oh, right. So then therefore you're looking for the big plays. You're not looking for the peppering of targets. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Okay.
And I don't know if that changes your opinion. Dave, I guess that's probably more directed towards because
I'm going to go still Palmer. I think I'll go Palmer.
You guys, I'm for abolishing standard leagues. Leagues, they're awful. But
here's the thing. We don't know. Ryan may have been in this league that's standard for 25 plus years.
That's right.
It's the league that maybe just brings, the good feels to you and you're comfortable in that league. And why get out of your comfort zone if that's the one that you've grown attached to? Or maybe Ryan is into like BDSM and he just likes beating his head against the wall with the standard format questions. And it's challenging because standard is hard to find unilateral information on from everybody because no one wants to go standard because people don't like predicting touchdowns or big plays, even though I don't think it's as challenging as made out to be.
But there also was a time where we thought that lead-based paint and asbestos was a good idea. Now
that is true.
That's panned out, okay? Lead-based paint and asbestos is standard leagues, all right, guys? We just
How dare you?
So move on with standard leagues. Bring in PPR or half. I can live with half PPR.
You know how hard it was to find a house with lead-based paint asbestos underneath power lines as a kid?
Underneath power lines.
My parents looked forever, and I think I turned out okay. I mean, marginally. Brian also loves the fact that Tyquan Thornton is coming back. I can't remember if Brian was huge on Tyquan Thornton. Someone else was big. I think it was probably Brian that I remember mentioning that. But I don't know if this is going to be a game or not as a whole. I mean, I want it to be fun. I think that everybody collectively has kind of jumped on to some extent the Detroit bandwagon and wants to see just a fun matchup. But one of these teams will be 1-4, and the other team will be 2-3. And I gotta tell you, going into New England is uphill climbing for Detroit. And I think that I hate to think of Detroit as 1-4, and then unfortunately
Detroit's going to win this game. Detroit's absolutely going to win this game. I mean, you look at how they played against Seattle. Jared Goff is playing good, man. Like, we've got to give him some props. You know, and their stars they're showing up. You know, whether it's Amon-Ra. Sorry, I probably missed this, but Amon-Ra or Jamal Williams. Like, these guys are just looking good. Their offensive line is strong. They definitely have the firepower in the offense. Now, their defense is another question, but if their defense can hold up, there is no reason they can't put 30, 40 points on the Patriots.
The 30-40 might be a push. That might be a little optimistic, but I know what you're saying. I do. I think that the Lions, I feel like they're overachieving just a little bit, but I don't think by much. I don't think as much as others do. I think others think that they're just gonna it's just gonna flip on its head and they're gonna be, the Detroit Lions of 4 years ago. Hell, probably the Detroit Lions last year would have worked too, Nate. But you get the idea of what I'm trying to allude to. I think that I want them to win more than they probably will.
Did you
like you were talking about
in the third person?
I do occasionally, just to keep myself grounded. That's that asbestos talking in me. It comes out every now and then.
Or the underground, the overhead power lines.
No, I just run them through the house now. It's better. We get better. Yeah, we get better service for the lights in here now. What about cold New England plus the Billy B game plan? Course correction for the oh man, here's the thing. You could make a case and say yes, New England has prepared for cold England for Coldplay, not the band, but for the style. And a cool hip Bill Belichick going by Billy would probably help. But the problem is that was the old New England team, and I don't know if he's going to get that out of this New England team.
I think Belichick's getting exposed because the big question when Tim Brodie left was who's really carrying New England? Is it Brady or is it Belichick? And I got to be honest, since 2020, it's pretty darn obvious who was the one who was running the show. I mean, I think if New England finishes the season with a losing record, people are going to start to question Belichick's legacy.
I question his choices in coaches. Like, I wonder how much nepotism played a role into having his son become the defensive coordinator. I wonder how much blind loyalty came into play with Matt Patricia being the offensive coordinator. That's where my concerns with Belichick are. I still think he has it up here to do it. It's just, I don't know. It's crazy. Brian saying meant course correction for the Lions.
That makes more sense as far as, I mean, yeah, if there's one area of a Bill Belichick led team is definitely the defense will be his game planning on defense will be there. He'll have an involvement in that. We all know that. As much as we know that, like you said, between his son and Matt Patricia have an involvement in terms of planning and scheming, at the end of the day, Belichick will have his fingerprint all over the defense. And I think that he will try. We talked about it earlier. He'll try to take out the one key component of Detroit that will keep that engine humming. And I don't know which piece that is. If that's, ARSB, if he plays, or if it's Hawkinson. I mean, I guess it could be Jamal Williams theoretically, the way he's been playing. But yeah, I don't see 30-40 this week. like you do, Dave, but I want to. I would love to see 40-3. That would be great because for Detroit, that is, because I hate New England. Sorry.
So right now we've reached the half. We've reached halftime over in London, and I just want to point out the high scores on offense for half PPR scoring. Aaron Rodgers 13.9, then Randall Cobb for 10.1.
Yeah.
Alan Lazard 7.9, only 9 yards receiving though, it's just a red zone target. The highest, exactly. The highest scoring New York Giant, and the only person to score a touchdown on a running play with 7.8 points is Daniel Bellinger.
Yep. Well, we all said that earlier in this stream. Maybe it was just before we started that Bellinger was a hot play. So
it was, yes, it was my play of the week.
Maybe we forgot to hit, live stream, when we said that. But
exactly.
Just trust that that's what we said. Do that, and then as far as our can't miss guaranteed $100,000 play is that if I get this wrong, everybody can come at me. Is that
conveniently mutes the microphone?
You're muted, Nate. You're muted.
3 touchdowns. Book
you're muted.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I heard him. I heard him clear. Yeah, exactly.
Clear as day. So someone's gonna be someone that knows how to read lips gonna be like, that dumb shit didn't say anything of value.
Nice. Let's go to the next game then. How about that, Nate? Let's go to
sounds good.
Seattle, New Orleans. We touched on it earlier. Geno Smith has been playing pretty lights out.
Dude, he's impressive, right? I mean,
yeah, man.
We talk about Geno Smith for a minute. I mean, I thought Drew Lock was going to easily win that starting job, but
same here. He
has proven that he's up to the task. He's running the ball well, throwing the ball really well. I mean, props to him. I think he's playing better than Russell Wilson. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right?
So let me ask you a question. I have a start-sit question for you guys. Would you throw in Carson Wentz versus the Titans, a.k.a. bad team versus bad team, or would you throw in Geno Smith versus the Saints this week as your starting quarterback?
Geno.
Roll with Geno.
Yep.
Go Geno. You got to play the hot hand. Who's playing well? It's Geno.
Geno has one more. He has one more reception than Russell, or one more completion than Russell Wilson in one less game. He is, like I mentioned earlier, he leads the NFL in completion percentage.
I was going to say, I saw that stat the other day here.
He is 11th in passing yardage. Only reason he's 11th, if you ask me, is because both Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson are 1 and 2 in the league because they have an extra game under their belts. Not by much, mind you. And the only downside of Geno's game is that the perception of him is down. Nobody really thinks it's going to continue, and maybe it won't, because New Orleans is going to be a stiff challenge. I think that, is it safe to say New Orleans is by far the most difficult? No, because he had to play against San Francisco and Denver weeks 1 and 2, and maybe weeks 3 and 4 against Atlanta and Detroit were indicative of the defenses he was playing against. But I still just, you know what? If he can move the chains, Rashad Penny can keep going. What do you think, Dave? Let's do this.
I was literally going to say that. I said they were playing well, both in the passing game and the rushing game, when they were giving Penny the ball, because he's an absolute threat. You got to respect his game. I mean, he scored 2 touchdowns, like 151 yards or something last week, right? So defenses didn't know whether they were throwing the ball, whether they were running the ball. When they have a good running game, Geno has more time in the pocket and he hits his open receivers. I mean, you're talking about Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. They're 2 very respectable receivers, right? So, yeah, look, I think they've definitely got a good chance if they can just get that good balance of run and rush, rush and pass, sorry.
And even one more little thing about Geno, too, is even if you go to the advanced metrics and like adjusted completion percentage, where you can't help but show how accurate they are, he leads the NFL in adjusted completion percentage. You talked about Rashad Penny. Penny is so crazy in some of the metrics that he is leading in, which we all knew he was going to be. He had that potential from the last 5 weeks of last season, but he's top 10 in elusiveness rating, or an elusive rating. Breakaway percentage, he's 6th. only trailing Saquon, James Robinson, DeAndre Swift. Surprisingly, Zach Moss is up there, but I'm not going to count that because Zach Moss sucks. Pick and choose whose statistics you want to to go into it, right?
All right, so let me ask you a question then. I have another question for this game. Rashad Penny,
okay,
or do you take a gamble? I know by saying this, I'm already automatically disqualifying this player, but just go with me here and roll with Tyler Algier today.
I'm taking Penny. I mean, that's not even a question.
Well, it is a question because he said it in the manner of he goes, would you take? So technically it is. You just gave compliments to Ryan for utilizing proper grammar and punctuation.
Seriously, no love at all, Dave.
And Jorge phrases a perfectly phrased question by use of
my inflection was on point. Yeah.
It was. I mean, it was.
He didn't say question mark at the end.
He didn't say.
I did not say question mark. You're right.
So there you go. It's not proper English.
And Jorge of Spanish descent of sorts.
Of sorts. Usually, aren't they supposed to put the question mark at the beginning of the sentence also if you had written it out upside down? This is right. This is wow. Look at you. Okay. Yes, that's absolutely correct. Yes.
We're watching a game in London, guys. I expect proper English grammar. Okay.
Touche. All right. Let's go for the. Let's do some IDP here for the Seahawks. Obviously, Jordan Brooks is a must start. Is Cody Barton a must start anymore?
Nope.
That's what I thought.
Nope. It's unfortunate because you know what? My concern is this. It's dumb. This is not true. I always play with the hype of the potential ceiling and a floor play. What I don't want to ever do is have the floor or the proverbial rug pulled out from underneath me and see a linebacker or a defensive player play 35% of snaps. And typically, bad players still stay on the field because they just, for IDP's sakes, it seems like they always stay on the field and they're always in bad position until it needs to be, a tackle 5 yards down the field and they make it. And we go, look how good Tay Crowder is. He is an IDP stalwart. And then you realize he's just garbage and they'll eventually take him out. I think that has happened. And you know what makes matters worse? Social media. Because Cody Barton's plays. Dave, have you happened to see any of Cody Barton's tackles?
I've not.
If you go into the old Twitter machine or pretty much anywhere and you type in Cody Barton missed tackle, you'll see a hole in the defense or on the offensive line about yay big, actual big on relevance wise, about yay big. And Cody Barton is pursuing. And then all of a sudden he thinks it's going to be a redirection. And so he turns into this massive line of offensive and defensive linemen and turns there. And the running back runs over his back shoulder, and like the wind from the running back almost whooshes him around to see that he got past him. And you can see the look of what in the where did he come from? It's so embarrassing. And there was like 2 or 3 of those plays over the last couple of weeks where I think it travels and you see Seattle's like we saw it. His play, his snap count went down. It was kind of embarrassing.
Who's the guy that Michael Bauer used to despise?
Nate Gary.
That's Nate Gary. One. Yeah, I was trying to think of that.
Very similar.
Definitely. Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully Barton can turn it around. But on the flip side, for New Orleans, Pete Werner, I feel, is somebody that you're not taking out of your lineup.
Yeah. Oh, the opposite. He's playing 100% of snaps. He's playing great. Both downhill as well as in all facets. He's good against the run. He's actually shown that he's better in coverage than people were giving him credit for. Most importantly, he's on the field. And that's, for me, him and DeMario Davis make for a really good linebacking core, which kind of goes back to that matchup. I still taking Rashad Penny, but it is definitely an uphill struggle for him.
Got it.
If that makes sense. Yeah, it does.
Now, Kamara being back, is this, Dave, what are your thoughts on Alvin Kamara this year? Do you think he's just what
they got rid of Tony Jones, right? They're kind of saying he's our guy, but I don't know. I mean, he's just not been playing well. I mean, he's not Alvin Kamara that we remember, who won people's fantasy championships back in 2018, right? Are we seeing him, face the cliff, the running back cliff? I don't know. I don't have full confidence in him. The Saints are not playing that well, let's be honest. And you got Andy Dalton under center. If you have it, like put us out, I'd take a Rashad Penny over Alvin Kamara this week. I'd take Damien Pierce over Alvin Kamara this week. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Are you putting him in your lineup with confidence?
Oh man, confidence.
No, confidence.
No.
That's the word right there, right? Confidence. No.
Yeah. Go ahead. I hate rib injuries as a whole. I hate all injuries, but rib injuries, man, because every hit is a rib.
Yeah, I'm with you with Pierce. I would start J-Rob, Pierce, for example, over Kamara this week, or any week, to be honest with you, going forward. I mean, until you see differently from his production. I'm with you there. In terms of other wide receiving options, Olave, quarterback, I feel like Proof just must start, target volume, just playmaker who doesn't get enough attention, right, Dave?
So I got a lineup issue right now. I've got Olave, London Drake, and Rashad Penny that I'm toying with putting in the flex. Which one are you going with? Full PPR.
God. All right, I'm probably gonna go Olave, even though I really like Drake London a lot because, like we said earlier, just no pits means work. Targets. But I don't know if Atlanta scores. Maybe more than one touchdown.
Pick two. So Olave, London, Gabe Davis, and Pierce. And Penny. I'm going with Pierce regardless.
So choose one still.
One in the running back spot. Choose two. Choose two for a flex and an RB or wide receiver. So I'm rolling with Devontae Adams. It's obvious.
Yeah.
And I'm rolling with Damien Pierce. I just like Damien Pierce.
Yeah.
Fair.
So I've got, as far as we have running back, so Saquon I'm playing, obviously. So Rashad Penny is my other back. Gabe Davis is on the bench right now. I've currently got Drake London in the flex and Olave in the wide receiver 2 spot. And I just don't know. I really want to play Penny, but I don't know who to take out.
I would take out London.
London for Penny?
Yeah, probably. As much as I like London, I could see that being Atlanta can't get anything going because you talked about it, Tyler Algier earlier.
Yeah.
And I mean, Tampa is the worst matchup to have to assume your first start against.
True.
Technically your first start, which sucks. And I don't know if I just don't know if they'll move the ball as good as well as Mariota has performed as far as not the 30th best quarterback, which is what my expectations were. He's 28th, 27th. So hats off to you, Marcus Mariota. Congratulations. That is not an actual congratulations. That was being facetious. He still sucks.
Well, now that we have that cleared up.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go to Miami and the Jets. Nate, are you firing up both Waddle and Tyreek Hill with confidence, even though they had issues with injuries, but they're going to be playing?
I mean, yes, I'm going to because I can't see a situation where I have that much of a better option than either of the two that would make me question it. If I had to choose between, say, who's the person like? Maybe Mike Williams or Waddle. I would go with Mike Williams over Waddle, or even, I would start Christian Kirk over Waddle. People that I have close, I just don't know if that groin injury is something that's going to rear its ugly head again. With Waddle, that is, and I don't know myself just how well Teddy's going to be able to move the ball consistently. I don't think it's as much as I was against Tua. Right. Tua showed that his accuracy and just trusting the ball in their hands was producing. Because I mean, they're average yards route run, and their yak was just outlandish. And I think that takes a little bit of a hit, but for the most part, I'm firing both up.
Okay. And for the Jets, I think it's Breece Hall and Breece Hall. with confidence. Jonathan Klanaski, who's actually over at the London game, so I hope he's having a great time, was making the case for Tyler Conklin, free agent coming over there to the Jets from the Vikings. I could definitely see some upside there, outperforming his ADP. And for tight ends, it's not hard, right, for them to outperform their ADP. All they need is literally 10 extra yards, and you have a separation between the tight end 7 and the tight end 15.
Yeah.
So with that being the case, for IDP purposes, CJ Mosley, you're obviously starting at linebacker for the Jets. For the Dolphins, it's a little bit more tricky. Is there anybody here for the Dolphins for IDP that you're just like, lock it in?
Lock it in. Man, no, not really, because everybody's kind of that. There's a lot of upside plays that I like. I mean, I think Christian Wilkins is grossly underrated, and I think his ability to involvement in that run defense, which their run defense is excellent for Miami. It's the only downside I have against Breece Hall as far as the running game. Thing is he'll catch balls out of the backfield more than anything, and I'm comfortable and confident that will generate most of his success. But no, I we love Brandon Jones, you and I both do, but that's been he hasn't played 100% of the snaps. Some weeks it's been not up and down, but up and down. And a person like Jerome Baker is fine. He's a perfect LB2. I have no problem with that. He's right in the middle there. I think that he'll have that solid LB2 floor that we all kind of hope for, but I don't think he has the LB1 ceiling unless he's playing, usually New England. This year it was Buffalo where he had that, but his fantasy point productions have been, according to Fantasy Pros, 6, 2, 23, and 9. So he usually has 1 or 2 ceiling games a year, and he used that one up already. So I'm not confident.
Got a question from Brian. He says he has Bellinger, Richie James, and Aaron Jones going right now. He needs to go for ceiling. Yeah, no kidding. It's not looking so awesome over in the UK right now for fantasy. He needs 2: Michael Carter, Noah Brown, Mac Hollins, Elliott, and Suck Up. So Elliott is out. He is out. They got Brandon Dicker is now the kicker. I could be wrong with his first name, but Dicker is his last name.
Really?
And he is a kicker. Yeah.
That's good.
Have fun with that, folks. Mac Hollins. Wasn't Mac Hollins the Hunter Renfrow fill-in who's no longer really going to be needed because Hunter Renfrow is going to be back tomorrow night?
That's what I called him, and I did get yelled at by a few because that wasn't supposedly the case. But then what happens? He doesn't. Hunter Renfrow comes back, and guess what? Mac Hollins has what did he get? 2 catches last week. Is that right? Something like that.
So, I as long as Cooper Rush is the quarterback, I'm still going Noah Brown, and I can't quit Michael Carter. So it would be Carter and Brown for me. Yeah, I mean, man,
I'll probably agree with you on Noah Brown, despite the fact that I thought that was just a flash in the pan. And when Gallup was back, it was gonna do it. And I still think the introduction of Dalton Schultz healthy hurts Noah Brown as well, but we're not given any type of information as far as like, hey, you get 10 great options to choose from. Scott Fishbowl. None of us have great options when it comes to this. We know that. So it is. Matt Collins, more of an outside guy. Casey against the outside. Jalen Hawkins is the big threat. And that's the one thing is that like his size wise, he's the taller of the corners, and Hollins is a big tall guy, but I would like Mac Hollins against Hawkins. Hawkins is he's a rookie 6th round guy, I believe, not the best pedigree, but he also had that big pick 6, which a lot of people remember. So, I mean, I think Hollins is big play. I would go with Hollins and Michael Carter. That would be my 2.
All right, we got another question. John Chapman, Ertz or Goddard? Well, let me put it like this. This is your last week to enjoy Zach Ertz at his optimal level with D-Hop coming back next week.
Yeah, true.
That being said, I'm going to roll with Goddard. I just feel like he's just the more consistent of the two with his rapport with why can I forget his name? Jalen Hurts.
You forgot Jalen. Oh, you tried to push his name out of your memory because you said last year he was going to be replaced, and now he's going to be the MVP of the league.
And Gardner Minshew came in admirably
and never would win an MVP. And
so like he didn't try.
You didn't say because of injury. You said
I said
outplayed.
I did. Well, he outplayed him in that game. Granted, he wasn't starting in that game, but it doesn't matter. Erroneous,
he says. I lean. Oh man, I still want to go. I think I might go Goddard. Yep, I'm gonna go Goddard still. As much as I like Ertz in terms of the routes run advantage he has, I just feel like that Philadelphia offense is just the propensity and the likelihood to score is greater, despite Zach Ertz, like you said, kind of that last week of not having FOMO. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, go.
Yeah, let me put this in perspective. So for my tight end rankings, I have Goddard at 4 and Ertz at 6. So you're not really losing in this situation.
I have Goddard at 4 and Ertz at 5. So
there we go.
There you go.
All right, cool. Let's see here. Where he says where I was leaning as well. Thank you. No problem, John. Come back anytime.
Good. Yeah.
I realized I was muted. I was trying to yell at you guys, and no one was listening.
I didn't realize my camera was off and my microphone wasn't working. And I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Trying to break through technology. Jalen Hurts had 26-1 odds of winning MVP before the start of the season, and I saw there was some bettors on YouTube who put $1,000 down. I'm like, damn, that's a good bet now. It's a really good bet.
Yeah, that's very good. Kamara is officially active. Yep. I think we assumed he would be, but it was never official. Now it is, I guess.
All right, let's breeze through a couple of these games. Tampa Bay and Atlanta, fire up your Bucks. I think Rashad White has some PPR upside here. Atlanta, Drake London.
Brady's been looking off. I got to be honest. Maybe it's the divorce papers getting in his head.
I'm sure.
Did you see the Antonio Brown posting with the children's book this morning?
This what? No, I saw the one where he put his photo over Brady.
No. It was he put out. It's been since deleted, but he put out a picture of a children's book with the cover saying, "Daddy doesn't live here anymore. A child's guide for getting through divorce."
There's something wrong with that guy.
He's so messed up.
I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, going back to Atlanta. So you're saying don't fire up everybody, aka don't fire up Tom Brady as your quarterback this week.
So Julio Jones is out.
Out.
So Godwin's playing today, right?
Mm-hmm. Godwin, Evans, Gage.
Yeah, Gage I'm not that excited about. I mean, their offensive line is not what it was last year. I don't know what's happening, but Brady's under a lot more pressure. Brady without time is not very clutch. You give Brady more than 2.5 seconds and he'll pick you apart. But he has just been getting sacked a lot. And I mean, we saw how he played against the Chiefs and just crumbled, to be honest. One thing I'll say about Brady, when he's losing, excluding the only exception is that Falcons Super Bowl, when Brady is down 1 or 2 touchdowns, he makes some poor decisions.
All right. So then for the Falcons, speaking of the other team in that equation, Tyler Algier, we said a tough matchup in his first NFL start. Drake London facing that secondary for the Buccaneers is going to be tough for him for any type of scoring upside, but the targets could be there. So for a full PPR, you could be seeing something there. No Kyle Pitts this week. So looking pretty bare for IDP. You're starting Michael Walker, Devin White. If you have a quarterback specifically, Carlton Davis, Mike Edwards at safety. Is Richie Grant for the Falcons somebody that people should be starting as their DB3 potentially, or do you think you can do better than that, Nate?
I mean, based off what you've seen so far as on the season, he's, I hate to ever use the word must start, but everything he's doing. I mean, if you look at his total snaps, he's playing. I mean, he had 100% of snaps, which is always a start. That's kind of where I lean from, which is something we were worried with him over the past couple of years because we weren't sure if he was a slot corner, if he was a safety, if he was going to be in the box. And yet we've seen 60 box snaps so far in the season. And I like him playing close to the line of scrimmage on many of them. And I just think he's a playmaker. So, yeah, I'm comfortable with him as my DB3.
Jarvis Landry has been declared out for the Saints, just FYI, this week.
Okay. So fire up Javar. If you have Javar anywhere?
You have Javar Landry, you are so good. But if you have Jarvis Landry, not so great. Okay, let's go to now a game that both Hollywood Titan and I are invested in. Tennessee at Washington. I think this is a better game for Carson Wentz than in previous seasons. So I think he's a start this week, although I do like your guys' take on Geno Smith over Carson Wentz earlier. The running game for Washington now with Brian Robinson being thrown into the mix just makes Antonio Gibson a must sit for me. I like the upside with Terry McLaurin, no Jahan Dotson. Curtis Samuel seems to be like a consistent flex play. Not a high ceiling play, but a consistent flex play week in and week out. Switching over to the defensive side of the ball for Washington, I think Cole Holcomb, I think he's in my top 10 for linebackers this week. He's tasked with trying to tackle Derrick Henry, which I think Washington will see a healthy dose of this week. So
let me ask you this. Is this Carson Wentz's last year as a starter in the league?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's lucky to get this opportunity, to be honest.
I think this might be his last couple of weeks as a starter.
Yeah. This guy, Heineke. Heineke's not that bad.
Well, if they're going to put somebody
Sam
in,
Howell.
Yeah, exactly. That's who they'll put in if it's not Carson Wentz.
But I mean, okay, Howell. I'll take Heineke or Howell. If you're running a team, right, and you're overpaying Carson Wentz, whatever the hell he's getting paid, I'd rather save that money, go with a Heineke or a Howell, and improve your offense or defense or whatever. That's what I would do if I was running Washington. There's just a lot of dead money in Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame because the first 2 weeks he gave himself, unfortunately, a lot of extra rope. Tremaine Edmonds is out for Buffalo, by the way, as well.
So now that increases the Najee bump
a
there.
little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
We have to.
I'll tell you who I think that I like more now is depending upon usage and what they do with him. Because, I mean, the key, if you ask me, is DeMar Hamlin going to be in the near the box? Yeah. I don't 100% know. I mean, he's so limited in usage. It could be very valuable.
We have
an
old friend of the show finally making his appearance this season from Fantasy Alarm. We got Colby Conway. How you doing, Colby?
What's up, gents?
Hey, buddy.
Colby, what's going on, dude?
What's going on?
So, Isaiah McKenzie is out also, by the way, in case you saw Brian. So, Khalil Shakur probably does make a little bit more of a splash.
Ooh, are we excited about Gabe Davis now?
Yeah.
not the answer that Dave was looking for.
No.
Okay.
All right. I'm about to move him out of my start column.
On the start side of the ball for Tennessee, I'm really high on Tannehill this week. No competition for lead targets with Treylon Burks there. I think this is a Bobby Trees turn back the clock game here for the Titans. For IDP, Nate, this offensive line for the Commanders is just straight horrible
Garbage.
This week.
Trash.
Who D'Amico Autry is the start at tackle. Who else we got here for I think Kevin Byard is going to have a big week this week at safety. Who else would you be confident in this week? Nate,
Jeffrey Simmons is going to have a good game. I don't know at linebacker if I want to even mess. The Joe Schobert experience might be a snap share conundrum this week, not knowing exactly what you're going to get. You don't have Zach Cunningham, but I don't know. How do we fast forward this game to the Houston Texans game?
I was going to say,
Colby involved.
Colby, you showed up at the right time. Next game at the 1 o'clock Eastern spot is Houston and Jacksonville. Colby, have we gotten to the point, or maybe we have been, and I'm just slow behind the times, Damien Pierce must start each week, or not yet, but definitely for this matchup?
Has to be. I mean, we've seen it. Houston can be down 14 points, 2 scores, and they're still going to try to run the ball. And honestly, at this point, it's really their best point of offense at this point. They got to run it. Pierce is the guy. Why they continue to put Rex Burkhead in is baffling and so frustrating. And somehow he's the one that gets the damn touchdowns. Absolutely ridiculous. But, you got to start Pierce each week. But really, when it comes to these Houston Texans games, as hard as they are to watch, it's simple. It's death, taxes, and running backs against the Texans. Yeah. It's that
They've
simple.
not been playing that bad, to be honest. I mean, Davis Mills has been serviceable. Is he elite? Probably not, but he's been doing great.
He's been inconsistent is probably the best word for it. Like we saw flashes like last week when he had those back-to-back throws, the 50-plus yard bomb to Nico Collins, finally, and then hitting Brandon Cooks for that touchdown. I mean, we've seen the flashes of it, but then you go to the first drive of the game, he's 10 yards high and 5 yards behind Nico on a deep in route. So he's been inconsistent. But I mean, it doesn't matter whether the running back's running it, whether they're throwing it to the running back, they are just bleeding fantasy points. And what's baffling is they don't make any darn adjustments. Look it was 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, play action fake. Eckler goes right into the flat. No one's there. Might want to take advantage of that. Well, guess who did? The Chargers did, and they ran it later, and Eckler got his 3rd touchdown of the game with a pass in the flat. I don't know if it's that they can't cover running backs. It almost seems like they just choose not to. They're just like, nah, we're not worried about it. We got Derek Stingley. We drafted a press man corner and continue to play zone all the time, which is ideal. So it's just, I don't know. It's just whether it's this week, it's Christian Kirk, it's James Robinson, and then I believe on Underdog or Prize Picks, it's one of them. Travis Etienne's receiving lines, like 13.5 receiving yards or something like that.
Really?
That's an easy over. Yeah, it's just, I mean, honestly, just close your eyes and pick an over for a Jacksonville running back today, and you're probably going to be fine.
What are your thoughts on Brandon Cooks?
I mean, he's done well against Jacksonville in the past. We'll have to see. It should be another game where game script benefits this Houston passing attack, and Cooks is the wide receiver one, and Mills locks in on him. So I think you have to start Cooks. Volume is going to be there. Finally got the touchdown last week, so hopefully it continues. But you got to start Cooks.
Can the Texans pass rush get to Trevor, where we've seen on the season when a clean pocket, Trevor Lawrence has a 121 passer rating. When he's under pressure, it drops to under 40% or 40 rating, which is probably one of, if not the highest discrepancy in the league. But does Houston possess a pass rush without Jonathan Grenard? Jorge, I know you love Jerry Hughes, but can they even get Trevor on his heels?
No.
Yeah. Sorry.
Here's the thing, Nate. Here's the thing. Yes, Grenard. They probably won't have Grenard. He was officially ruled out?
He is out. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the big thing. You have no pass rush. Excuse me, when you're excited for the return of Mario Addison.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm excited to see this guy play, and he is, you know what he is. There's no, he's not this young rookie coming in and all of this. So when you're excited for the return of Mario Addison, that tells me enough of what I need to know about this pass rush. And Lovey doesn't blitz hardly at all, it seems like. They have an absolute unicorn of a rookie in Jalen Petrie. And though a couple times he's blitzed, good things have happened. So you think you would do it more, but it's cover 2 or Tampa 2, whatever Lovey runs. I'm so sick of hearing it all the time, but it's Tampa 2 or die. Mm-hmm. It's so annoying. It's so frustrating. I
lived it with his tenure at Illinois and watched it with the Bears, and we saw that. The problem is the success that they had. I feel like the success that Tampa had was unfortunate because it's like, hey, look how well this Tampa 2 cover 2 Lovey 2 type system can work. Well, no shit. When you have personnel and you have a lot of key things falling into place, I don't know. It's definitely a little more frustrating.
Well, it's interesting because when Lovey was talking, I don't remember I think it might have been on the Pat McAfee show. He was talking about the importance of, I think it was Pat or AJ, one of them, basically asked, to run your system, what do you need? And Houston doesn't have any of it. Like he was like, we need a dominant nose tackle. I mean, Malik Collins, okay. Roy Lopez is awesome for where he was drafted, but he's not amongst the NFL's elite. He's like, we need a dominant linebacker. Nope. Houston has quantity at linebacker, but they have very little quality. And then, like I already said, you need a stud corner. We have one who will become a stud corner, but he is a man press corner, and we continue to stick him in zone. It just, I don't get it. I mean, he's a rookie. He's going to get beat if he's in man coverage. That's fine. But if you want Stingley to assert himself as that CB1, you got to put him at what he does best. And I don't know if it's just that Lovey's going to stick to this Tampa 2 till he dies or what it's going to be, but they got to do something. And this offense, oh my gosh, is this the most boring vanilla offense I've ever seen? Like, in recent years, all I ever wanted Houston to do is throw the ball every single play because I was so sick of David Johnson's 1-yard rush and Rex Burkhead's 2-yard rush. Now this year, all I want him to do is run the ball. Like Damien Pierce is the most fun guy on offense. So back to your point, where I think you have to start him every week. He's the only one that's remotely fun to watch on that offense because everyone else, it's catch, fall, or it's an overthrow, or it's As you can tell, this team's frustrating, and I'm aging a lot this year.
Well, if you aren't hyped for this Houston-Jacksonville game after that soliloquy, you never will be.
Well, it's a great game for betting because you just take all Jacksonville
overs.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
You're in the money with Jacksonville overs.
We got a question here from Susie Harris over on YouTube. Needs to start here. Devin Duvernay versus the Bengals or Elijah Moore versus the Dolphins. Colby, let's stick with you. Who are you trusting more, the cornerbacks for the Bengals or the cornerbacks for the Dolphins here?
If Rashad Bateman was playing, it'd be a lot easier, but Duvernay's essentially going to act as, well, Mark Andrews is the wide receiver 1. Let's be honest. So really Duvernay is going to be like a wide receiver 2 type. I'm so afraid to miss out on the Elijah Moore week because it's going to happen at some point. And if it doesn't happen in this matchup, it might be time that I need to reconsider my status on Elijah Moore, because I mean it's going to be a great matchup. A lot of people are touting Zach Wilson to throw a good bit of yards this week, so I think I might go against what might be the grain here, but I think I'm going to go with Elijah Moore.
I'm right there with you because honestly, I think it, like you said, it's Mark Andrews 1. I'm going to say it's Isaiah Likely is the number 2. I bet Likely is second on that team in targets, and it's probably ugly. I mean, I don't know what that means for Lamar, if that means he runs the ball even more. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I'd hate to miss out. FOMO has play in this game. It really does. And Elijah Moore, we touted for weeks that if he gets the target share that he can deserve at times, I think he could put up a pretty good monster week. Let's see what else you got here, Jorge.
Yeah, I got Moore 4 spots higher than Duvernay, so I'm going to go with Moore. Let's see here. We got another question here. Thanks, Susie, for chiming in. I got Malcolm Merriweather over on Facebook. Pick 3: Najee, Thielen, Montgomery, and Samuel. So no Tremaine Edmonds means I'm up even higher than I was on Najee before, so put him in there. Thielen and Samuel. I know David Montgomery is the hard one, but I'd go Harris, Thielen, Samuel. What about you, Nate?
Yeah. Golly. I'm gonna follow suit with that too. What I hate is that this Bears team, just the only thing they can really do is run. We've talked about that earlier. And it just scares me just as much that I think they're going to be forced. They're going to need to pass the ball, and yet they don't. You want to talk about frustrating, and I'm not even a Bears fan, but Chicago's down 14, like Colby was saying with Houston, and they force and they go away from the one thing that actually kept them, which was the run, and then they try to pass off non-play action and get Justin Fields out in motion, and he gets sacked from interior penetration, which is a weird way to say it, but we all know what we're talking about. This is very football directed. Whatever. That's
right. Yep.
And I just feel like they could get out of that game, and they might just turn the keys back over to Khalil Herbert and keep Montgomery fresh. So I'll say Harris, Thielen, and Samuel. Colby?
3 for 3. Samuel was the one here that jumped off. That's the must start for me. Too good of a matchup. And now Logan Thomas is out. So it's really going to be and Dotson's out. So it's the McLaurin and Samuel show. So definitely starting Samuel. And it's so hard to trust any of this Bears attack. So it's Thielen, Harris, and Curtis Samuel for me as well. Perfect 3 for 3.
Nice. All right, let's go to our next matchup here. We're talking the one of the best defenses in the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers going against one of the worst offenses in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers. Nate, I feel like there are more stars on defense than that I feel super, super confident in than on offense. Let's start with the 49ers. Obviously, you're starting Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. At this point of the season, who would you rather have as your starting linebacker, Dre Greenlaw or Fred Warner?
Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah, hands down.
It's hard. It's weird, but I mean, if you look at everything Greenlaw's done well, he's excellent in pass play tackles. Doesn't always mean he's the best in coverage, but he is doing well in coverage. It's just a combination of the two. Great against the run. He gets to line up and take advantage of Bosa clearing most of the way in front of him, so he gets good, clean looks at whomever it is that he's supposed to be looking at. In this case, could be a lot of Christian McCaffrey, which is not great, but I'd rather have to see Christian McCaffrey one-on-one than have to try to shed a blocker that got destroyed or that blasted through my edge rusher. And, it's nice having Nick Bosa in that case. And Nick Bosa is an obvious must start. No doubt about that. I'll tell you, the person who's not gotten, in my opinion, a ton of credit is Samson Ebukam. I think he's been a really good player, just overshadowed by so many other pieces in San Francisco, and Hufanga, of course.
Oh my God. For those of you who are in IDP leagues who maybe have, a defensive back spot, just one defensive back spot, I guarantee you he's probably available on your waiver wire. Get Hufanga from the 49ers, just playmaker. He had that pick 6 last week. I mean, he's a tackling machine. Definitely get him. On the flip side here for offense, flex worthy. Are we talking about low end RB2 flex for Jeff Wilson? And then for the 49ers, like Kittle, Debo, Ayuk really disappointed me last week. I was expecting to have a lot better performance there versus the Rams, but is Ayuk still somebody who's a flex option for you, Colby, or a wide receiver 3?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to who's that safety that I need to pick up in an IDP league?
Talanoa Hufanga.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, what's the first letter of that last name?
H.
Wow, he's picked up. All right. Well,
Yeah.
Never mind. My team's gonna keep stinking. Anyway, San Fran with the pass tech. I mean, we gotta roll with Jeff Wilson for now, and then the receivers obviously Debo start, and then I like Ayuk. I mean, he's getting the targets, and it's hard to really argue with him. It's you talk about this San Fran team. They should beat Carolina first off. It's Carolina's corners aren't bad, headlined by J.C. Horn. So we'll have to see what happens with the passing attack. I think the big storyline here in San Francisco. So yeah, Ayuk's still a guy I like, but in San Fran, it's been a bad start for George Kittle. I mean, I know with the injury to Trent Williams that there was thoughts that he'd probably stay in the block a little bit, but I mean, outside of Kyle Pitts, you could argue that the ROI from Kittle is amongst the worst of the top 10-ish tight ends, maybe excluding Cole Kmet too, because he has like 2 catches on the whole season. But yeah, this San Fran, I think offensively speaking, they almost seem to be like a better squad in reality than fantasy outside of Debo.
Agreed. On the flip side of the ball for Carolina, wish I could say DJ Moore, but can't. Christian McCaffrey.
Well, Jorge, he's got to get open. He's got to get better at being open. Remember, that's what they're saying. He's got to do a better job of getting open. It's not Baker's fault. It's DJ Moore's fault.
Yeah, no, whether it was in Cleveland or in Carolina, it was never Baker Mayfield's fault whatsoever. Christian McCaffrey played pretty well last week. Have we gotten over the point where we're like, okay, I'm feeling more and more confident that Christian McCaffrey has the RB1 upside potential, or is he somebody that you're still kind of, hesitantly trotting out there, expecting, hoping for the high volume that he has always had? Dave, let's go with you with CMC talk.
Yeah, I mean, he's Christian McCaffrey. You're absolutely playing him. It's not even a question. He's still pretty healthy so far, which is good. He's getting the volume. I mean, there's really I don't know why you would doubt it anyway. He's CMC. He's a dual threat running back, probably the best in the league.
Did you call him Chris McCaffrey? Like you guys are best friends and like some kind of like you're his cousin? I don't know. That's what I was like. It's Chris McCaffrey. I like
Mizzle.
it.
C-Mizzle is what we call it.
Wow. C-Mizzle. Wow.
Hey, Jorge, go to Malcolm's question because if he has a quarterback question as far as waiver wire, we got to make sure he beats the other idiots to the punch in case they need somebody.
Which by the way, so our director of content here is Zach Berger on YouTube and as well as on our homepage at fantasyandframes.com. Each week does a beat the waiver wire for the upcoming week video segment. Check that out. See any names that are on there, double check that they're on your waiver wire now before the kickoff at 1:00 Eastern, and get those players into your starting roster or into your rosters this week. So head over to our YouTube page to check that out or on our webpage. But his question here, Malcolm's, that is quarterback help: Bridgewater, Geno, Tannehill, Wentz, or Rush. I need one off the waiver wire. I think we were talking about this earlier. I give me Geno.
Yeah. Geno's my pick.
What about you, Colby?
Oof. I don't love the matchup like I do with Wentz, but I don't know if I can trust. It's so hard to trust Wentz with a couple weapons out. I'll lean Geno because when you look at it, if you're looking for a guy off the waiver, but if any of them have the potential to stick, it's going to be Geno. You can't trust Wentz week to week. So I'll go with Geno, but I wouldn't hate going the Wentz route. I say that now though on Sunday at 11:54.
Right.
It's
the Carolina IDPs: Frankie Louvu, Xavier Woods. Is that pretty much who you're feeling comfortable rolling with this week?
mean, I'm always going to start Brian Burns.
Okay.
Personally, I think Burns is just one of the elite edge rushers that any given week can put up like he's done. I want to say he has multiple sacks in two. Nope, just the one last week. But yeah, I mean, 3 sacks on season so far. He has the tackle upside is always the plus. So take week 3 out of it because he didn't do anything. And it's easy for me to eliminate weeks I don't want to include in my narrative. But,
nice.
7 tackles last week, 4 tackles in week 2, 8 tackles in week 1. That's the type of defensive end that you want, is somebody that can give you the multi-sack game plus throw in that high tackle floor for an edge. Would you drop Julio Jones, you guys? Oh, sorry, you didn't put the question up.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Would you? Yes.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's picking him up.
Yeah, agreed.
Would you have picked up Julio Jones, Colby? Did you pick him up whenever, or have the option to?
No, if I didn't draft him, I didn't pick him up at all. But I mean, when it comes to like these drop questions, it's like, is there someone that you can pick up to make you infinitely better? Because if it's just a matter of just dropping him to have an open roster spot to not use anybody, then holding him's not going to hurt you for the time being. But I mean, if it comes to it looks like Barkley got tackled hard on the shoulder. If that's anything, like would I, Breida's going to be the guy? Would I drop Julio for Breida in a heartbeat? There's like 17,000 receivers in Tampa Bay. So yeah, I'm okay dropping Julio if you're going to pick somebody up, but if it's dropping just to drop, I would, holding him for 3 more days isn't going to necessarily hurt you.
Yeah, and you touched on, unfortunately, the news that I did see just recently, and it kills me with Saquon. It's still it says questionable to return, so hopefully maybe just a stinger. I don't think that's the case considering the style of play, but never good when you see that with Saquon. Granted, shoulder is one that I feel better than if it was lower body. That's for sure. I'll take shoulder over knee any day.
Absolutely. Let's go to our next matchup here. We got the Cowboys. We got the Rams. Cooper Rush still at quarterback. Man, I was really hoping this was going to be Michael Gallup's coming out party here with Dak Prescott. Obviously, that's not the case. I feel like Gallup is kind of one of those touchdown or busts wide receivers here without Prescott. CeeDee Lamb, obviously, you're starting CeeDee Lamb. Dalton Schultz. I mean, you're starting Dalton Schultz if you have him as your starting tight end. We go to Noah Brown. Nate, what are your thoughts on Noah Brown? Is he still somebody, as long as Cooper Rush is there, that you're flexing or having as a wide receiver 3, or do you think you can do better?
You build these narratives in your mind that it's hard to convince yourself otherwise. And 2 weeks ago, when I saw that, I convinced myself that this is going to be one of those same things. He's going to get 4 for 80 and maybe score a touchdown. He's going to be a waiver wire gem, and he's going to put up 2 for 20 every other week, and people eventually going to drop him. And then what does he do last week? He comes out and proves that, again, he's capable, seeing 6 targets, which trailed only CeeDee Lamb. He had the 3 catches, not a great catch rate, but got 61 yards in that. I don't want to trust Noah Brown, and I hope that I'm not in a league where I have to. But, in this specific matchup, I think that I don't know. God, I hate this question because I want to say just no avoid, but I don't know what the options are. You're looking for 12. You're looking for 8 points out of your receiver.
Yeah, if you're going for like a wide receiver 3 or flex for upside, is he somebody that for upside purposes you're like, I'm chasing upside with Noah Brown? Okay, there we go. That's the answer. No. We go over to the defensive side of the ball. Micah Parsons, you're starting Micah Parsons for obvious reasons. One of my key feature linebacker starts for the week is Leighton Vander Esch going against this running game for the Los Angeles Rams, who you have both Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson as, according to PFF, 2 of the least elusive running backs in the NFL. So I think LVE will get to these 2 guys and rack up the total tackle points there for him. Jaron Kearse returning. Donovan Wilson. Earlier in the week, we saw that he had either was limited in practice or missed a practice. Mm-hmm. If you have Kearse, are you comfortable starting him as your DB1 or DB2, or are you still a little concerned that the performance of Wilson so far this season is going to result in him eating into Jaron's snaps?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm concerned that
Saquon's
without
back,
knowing, Saquon's back.
Yep.
All right. Good. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna give it another week to go. I'm gonna start Donovan Wilson this week. Not gonna start Jaron Kearse. I'll see how it plays out and kind of go from there. Terrible advice, but unfortunately, I'd probably pivot to something else. I just realized, Colby, that you and I are playing each other in our 4A championship this week, and since it's best ball, I don't have to worry about any advice given or anything because I don't have control over that. But yeah, a lot of the players that I have really high this week.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about my team either, considering I'm 1-3. Team's garbage.
It's early. You can rack off.
No, it's over, Nate. It's over. My season's done. I'm done with this. It's all over. There's no chance of coming back.
That's true.
Let's see here on the opposite side of the ball. Matt Stafford is a sit for me. The running backs are a sit for me. Wide receiver for the Rams outside of Cooper Kupp, I'm not really seeing it. Tyler Higbee, Colby. Are you doing it because are you starting him because it's the tight end position and who else you're going to start, or do you think that there's somebody out there that could potentially give you better upside, like a Gesicki or insert said name filler?
No, I mean the volume has been there for Tyler Higbee, and there's no reason that it's going to go away. I mean, Allen Robinson, as bad as he's been in terms of just not getting the targets, it sounds from a couple of snaps that I've seen in routes and stuff, doesn't look like he's really creating much separation, or at least enough to where Stafford is going to throw him the ball. I mean, this passing attack is ideal for fantasy because it is so damn funneled, and it is Kupp about 85% of the time, Higbee the other 15% of the time. It's straightforward. So really, Higbee is quickly entering, if he's not already there, into the weekly must start, because he's one of the handful of tight ends that you can very comfortably say he's definitely getting 6 targets this week. Where else can you say that for? There's a handful, but I never would have. Bob Lung was huge on Tyler Higbee coming into the year, so kudos to him for getting that one right. But I can't believe I'm saying this at the tight end position, but you can't afford to take Tyler Higbee out of your lineup. Let
me ask you this: Tyler Higbee or George Kittle?
I think right now you gotta go Higbee. He's at least running routes. Kittle's in there blocking 6'5", 265-pound defensive ends. You don't get fantasy points for blocking, at least the leagues I play in. I might be good at those leagues because I'm great at drafting blocking tight ends, but it's something like that. So yeah, at this point, I think you got to go Higbee, and I'm quickly getting to the point of I don't want to be there with a guy like Kyle Pitts, but with Kittle, it almost seems like sunk cost at this point. I'm basically just riding the wave and hopefully things turn around. And like Kyle Pitts, I'm never trading him because I know the second I trade him, he's bouncing back. It's just sunk cost. I'm stuck with Pitts. And you know what? I'm going to continue to trot out there and get his 2 for 35 and be happy about it because you know what? My other option is Hunter Henry, who's completely non-existent. So we were I was on the consistency show with Bob Long on Thursday night, and we were talking about underdog, and I was telling my best ball, and I was looking at my tight end ownership about how I did in all these best balls preseason. So let me just read this to you guys because you guys are about to be baffled about how bad I couldn't have done worse at tight end. So of the players I have at least 18% ownership in at tight end: Brevin Jordan, Kyle Pitts, Cole Kmet, Evan Engram, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, Logan Thomas, George Kittle. Those 7 have combined for like 11.5 receptions, maybe. It's horrible. Tight end stinks. You got to start Higbee every week.
So here's a list of players that have a worse target percentage than Tyler Higbee does: Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Hunter Renfrow, Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce, Michael Pittman, Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson, Brandon Ayuk, and pretty much every other tight end you could possibly name, and big name wide receivers. So you're spot on. I mean, and I know typically what's the big concern when you see big target percentage from some of these players? You're thinking, oh, they're on a shit offense like Atlanta, where the Kyle Pitts 22 target percent won't translate to anything. Well, he's on the Rams, and once the Rams actually figure out how to block, which is the best part also, because here's Higbee and here's a team that's getting pressured nonstop, and they're not asking Higbee to block. It's like the best worst coaching decision ever. It's fantastic because they're not saying, hey, stay in and protect Stafford. They're like, hell no, run 6 yards, get open, let them throw it to you. I love it. I mean, until Stafford's elbow falls off, which is okay at that point because whoever comes in for him will probably have to look Higbee's way as well. So win-win for all of us, unless you have Brevin Jordan, Kyle Pitts. Like, unfortunately, I think you just read my underdog ownership numbers as well, because that seems eerily familiar. And that's why when I click on it and I see, $300 in and winning 20, I go, oh, I'll just make sure Carrie doesn't look at that little sheet, and I'll focus on the ones that are winning. I'll just show her me and Colby's matchup and be like, I'm beating. She's like, Colby Jack and cheese. And I'll say, he hates that. Don't say it. And she'll say it 10 times more. FYI.
She'll just be upset that you're beating me because she likes me more than you.
That is very true. Thank God she doesn't listen to this.
There you go. For the Rams, for IDP, Bobby Wagner. I think Fuller is out, and Taylor Rapp has been. Are you starting Taylor Rapp as a DB 1, 2, or 3, Nate?
No.
Okay.
So it's a shame Bobby Wagner didn't get that extra sack for hitting the.
That was great. That was great. The protester. Yeah.
It was pretty impressive, actually.
So he filed a lawsuit against Bobby Wagner. Or
did he really?
The Rams? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe he shouldn't have been running on the football field. Whatever. Let's go Philadelphia, Arizona. I think it's safe to say you can fire up your Eagles here. Fly, Eagles, fly. Colby, Miles Sanders. How are we feeling about Miles Sanders?
Yep, you're starting him. Volume's there. Should be a pretty good matchup for him. Looks like Arizona's bottom 10-ish in fantasy points allowed to the position. There's a lot of pieces of this Philadelphia offense, mainly the passing attack that I like today. But yep, Miles Sanders, rock solid RB2, if not higher.
Dave, on the flip side, James Conner. What are we doing with him?
You're playing him and you don't like it? I mean, really, what option? It depends what other options you have. I mean, I still think he's good for 10 to 15 touches. He's a good goal line back. So you're probably relying on him falling on the end zone, but I'm not expecting monster numbers out of him.
So let me tell you the running backs I have ahead of him currently. Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, Dobbins, Hunt, Wilson, Stevenson. Would you have Connor ahead of any of those?
Yeah, I don't like Harris or Stevenson this week. Those are the only ones. I don't think this is going to. I think this is going to be a blowout. The Lions crush the Patriots this week. So, that's the only ones I'd have in front of him. But look, if you're in the 5-yard range, he's pretty good to push the pile and fall in the end zone.
What about you, Nate?
Yeah, I'm right there with Dave.
All right, let's go to the IDPs for this matchup. Philadelphia, Is Reddick a flash in the pan, or is he somebody that people should be paying attention to from last week and the week before?
You know, like Joe was saying Thursday night on our
You down with
IDP show,
Yep.
Reddick is definitely the, big play, big week, and then kind of goes quiet for a little bit, ghosts you, and doesn't produce. The talent's still there. We all know that. It's a matter of, is it going to be a letdown if you don't get what you expected from last week? Arizona's, pass protection's okay, not great. Kyler does a good enough job of eluding would-be tackles and would-be sackers. So I'm not as high on Hassan Reddick. I'm kind of, the only big plays I have. I do like TJ Edwards this week. I feel like a lot of the plays are more in between the hash, like we've said a lot for some of these linebackers with their tackles. And outside of that, on the Arizona side, no Nick Vigil means another week for someone to put Isaiah Simmons into the lineup and be disappointed when they do so. So whoever you are out there, just know that I feel you, and don't do it. Avoid. And then we'll all watch as he puts up 9 tackles and has an interception. And I will have to listen to 45 questions next week about Isaiah Simmons.
Just for those who are paying attention to us, thank you very much, and have not seen what's happening in the London game. Saquon Barkley has been a man on a mission since coming back from injury, scored a touchdown, has 18 half PPR points, and the Giants are leading with 6 minutes left to go, 27-20. Green Bay currently has the ball, so yikes.
This is a different Giants team that we're seeing, right? I mean, last year they were pathetic at best, and now they're putting together good drives. The defense is solid. I mean, I think they're a chance to win the NFC East.
Can you imagine if they actually had all their healthy players and had better quarterback play, like how good this team would be? Just food for thought there.
Which way does that go, though? Do you think Daniel? No. Okay. Are we all?
He's not the starter next year.
Okay.
Really? That's a big call.
I don't think
you just said they were going to win the East. That's a big call.
No, I did. I said
Dave
that.
did.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
no, hell no. You would never say that, Jorge.
I would never say that. Yeah,
Commanders.
I'd rather swallow my.
Yeah,
I think Jones is a starter. I mean, he's I think probably one of the better, other than Josh Allen, one of the better rushing quarterbacks in the league. He can run, but yeah, I don't think he's done enough to lose his starting job.
Yeah,
is he a stud of a quarterback? No, but I'm happy with the production he's putting out.
I'll give him a little bit of a pass with not having. But again, I think we can all build narratives for any of the quarterbacks we like. If they're like, hey, look, they got a 122 passer rating when they have every player healthy. Their offensive line got better, which is the big thing. You don't have to rely on Andrew Thomas as being your number one offensive lineman, which was terrible. It's still the East is by far to me the biggest, not let down, but it seems like there's so much hype going into the season with everything, and then balloons out. And now it's just Philly.
Finishing off with Arizona, Jalen Thompson, Buda Baker are players you can start there. Let's go to the Sunday night matchup. Bengals at Ravens. Or is it Ravens at Bengals? Who cares? It's somewhere. It's somewhere in the United States of America. Yep. Okay, there we go.
So fun fact about that game.
Okay.
Did you know the last 5 games have been decided by at least 20 points? The last 5 matchups. Yeah. So I would go on a bet. I don't believe that happens again this time. Does anybody think it's going to be decided by more than 20 points? No. I would love to hear who the answer was with that, because I don't know who wins. Colby, who do you think wins the game?
I think I'm going Cincy. You look last year, they beat Baltimore 20+ both times, which goes to what you said. But, I mean, you look in those games, Burrow, I'm looking here, 416 and 3 scores, 525 and 4 scores. I know Baltimore secondary was putrid last year. I know they're only horrible this year, and they're not going to be able to stop it. I think this is on a primetime matchup, Sunday Night Football. This is going to be a coming out party for the Cincinnati passing attack. Another player prop that I like, I believe Burrow was somewhere in like the 270s in passing yards. Mm-hmm. Easy over there. I mean, he might not do 416 or 525 like he did in those 2 matchups this year, but Higgins is questionable, but logged limited practices all weeks. He'll be out there. Chase has been good, albeit a bit quiet by his standards. But I mean, Cincinnati's going to win this game, and Burrow's going to throw it all over the yard.
Love it.
Yeah.
Hayden Hurst, is he a viable streaming option for you at tight end? And I say streaming, we're not technically streaming at this point of the season, but you get what I'm saying. Startable? Anyone?
In a pinch, I wouldn't love it, but in a pinch, you could do worse.
All right.
Are we in bye week territory? When do bye weeks start?
Next week.
Okay.
So then for IDP purposes, Logan Wilson, Trey Hendrickson,
Sam Hubbard. Yep. Give me
Von Bell.
Jesse Bates has been playing better as of late. You have realistically, there's a case to be made that Jermaine Pratt could be involved if they ask him to. I don't know who they're going to ask to spy Lamar, because someone's going to spy Lamar the entire game.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. Without Rashad Bateman, with Devin Duvernay, no offense, but I think that, like we were talking about earlier, like Colby said, it's Mark Andrews, and it's Mark Andrews, and I think Isaiah Likely second, just because he has been involved. I mean, he's getting the targets, just hasn't done much with him yet. What do you think this week, Jorge, as far as Marcus Williams? He's been on the hype train for after weeks 1 and 2, but a little bit of a letdown as of late, and he's free safety.
Yeah. Well, with Colby was just mentioning about Joe Burrow airing it out and these wide receivers, these receiving options getting plenty of opportunity this week, I think you may see a return to what you were seeing earlier in the season with Marcus Williams. He's not from week to week turning into a DB1 like he was to start the season, but I think he definitely has sneaky DB3 upside against the Bengals this week. We got Johnny T80 over on YouTube. Welcome back. Great to see you again. Good morning, gentlemen. Great stuff as always. Pick one PPR flex: Josh Reynolds, Brandon Ayuk, Kareem Hunt, Penny, or Mostert. Penny.
Colby?
I'm Kareem Hunt.
I have Hunt the highest of them, and not that it matters a ton. Demetric Felton is out again, just more usage, and I like to just lean. And like I said earlier, Jorge, I think that Cleveland, obviously, they would love to establish the run like they've done in every game. When that time comes that they can't and they have to turn to the passing game, I think that's when Hunt. So, like the first half, I think we'll see the majority of Chubb, but we can see Hunt very easily, go for a touchdown away, get involved in some of the third downs. And then the second half, I think we'll see a little bit more of Kareem Hunt. And both could be very viable, because the Chargers are, there's a chance that Myles Garrett gets to Herbert with that offensive line being weakened. Maybe they get some turnovers. Who's back? Is it Greedy? Yeah, Greedy's back. And doesn't matter. Ultimately, Kareem Hunt for me. So 2 and 2, you guys.
I'll build on what Nate said, because when you look at the Chargers, I mean, they've allowed the 6th most receiving yards to running backs, 3 receiving scores, and 28 of 30 targets to be caught against them. And obviously against the rush, we saw what Pierce did last week against them. So you can run it on the Chargers a good bit. Obviously, Cleveland wants to run it. I love Nick Chubb this week, and by default, I just like running backs against the Chargers. So for me, it's Hunt of that group of guys. All
right. So Johnny, we basically just gave you even more confusion. So
agreed.
Yep. Have fun with that. Let's go to our last game of the weekend. Monday Night Football, Chiefs, Raiders. Derek Carr is a must-sit quarterback for me.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not too high on him, to be honest with you. I think this game screams more for me keeping Mahomes off the field, which translates into Josh Jacobs having another decent game versus the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of volume. For the Chiefs, obviously you're starting Patrick Mahomes. Nate, we're going back and forth on this all season long. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, look, top 10, and I don't know, he's probably top 10, top 12 still in fantasy and half PPR scoring. But in terms of the usage and the rushing attempts compared to the other running backs in that tight end or running back one group, it's not even close. Is he a sell high for you? If he has another big week this week, are you drinking the Kool-Aid, or are you trying to offload him as quickly as possible?
You'll never offload him. You'll never do that. The likelihood that you find the one fantasy manager in your league that believes in what he's doing from a production standpoint for the rest of the season, probably won't line up with what they have that you would need in return, or vice versa. And I won't say that I was ever not in belief that he could be a good RB2. I thought that the draft where he was being picked at was okay for him as a flex spot each week, because the offense could, mitigate that, or not mitigate, but could support that. And I don't think Pacheco was taking anything away from CEH. I was never on the Pacheco train as far as concern. I was a little more worried about McKinnon and Ronald Jones early on, but it goes back to what we keep saying. It's shocking that a team that invests and does an overhaul of their offensive line actually gets it to work well, and they get production. Opposite of what Cincinnati's been trying to do. Cincinnati can't figure out, they don't have Andy Reid, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Cincinnati at all, but Reid understands that he's getting the best use out of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and probably the only situation that I would like to see improve is his usage. But if he's doing this with the limited usage, is he going to be the RB4 for the rest of the season? I can't see that happening. No, but I think he finishes inside the top 14, which you think there's a return you can get. Colby, is there a person in any of your leagues you think that if you had CEH that would give you proper return, and what would that return have to be?
I think it goes back to what you said. For every reason that you could come up with to try to basically sell CEH high, it's going to be a concern for that recipient. Like if I look to Jorge and say, hey, I got CEH. I mean, look at this, the touchdown. He's been so effective per touch. Jorge's going to look at me and say, yeah, touchdowns have been awesome, but he's had like 8 touches that game or 11 touches that game. And you want me to pay RB1 or high end RB2 for that? I think you hit it right on the head, Nate. It's for you to trade him to sell high. Someone would have to be blinded by the touchdown numbers. Because if you you could even box score watch and you can look and just know it's like, hey, his number of touchdowns on number of touches is a bit high and probably not sustainable. So I would love to try to sell CEH high. I don't even know what to do, because if someone's going to offer to you, they're like, oh, I'll give you like Alan Lazard. It's like, I love Lazard more than most, but even I'm probably that's a bit rich. So I just don't know if you're going to be able to do it. I think you might be stuck with them.
You see, CH goes down as Pacheco and RB1.
One, no,
not a one.
I don't think Reid would ever turn the keys over. He's not turning the keys over to CEH, who's done nothing but prove that he's worthy of, maintaining the consistency needed to move the chains. When he's hitting every hole right, he's holding on to the ball. He's in the, what he's doing really well? He's getting into the spots that had made Tyreek very successful with Patrick, is that he sees when Mahomes needs a little bit of an outlet or he needs to find open space, and he's getting to that space. Now then Mahomes is making it work with that. But that whole offense, I'll tell you, outside of Mahomes and Kelsey, there's nobody that I feel comfortable week in and week out that if these were all start-sit questions between somebody viable, I'd never want to lean Juju or MVS or even CEH. It's hard to recommend because I could see the Chiefs put up 35 and CEH have 8 for 32 with 3 catches for 25, and nobody have a huge game. It just and he's spreading the ball around really well. It's a really well-run offense aside from the Indy game. And it's very frustrating for fantasy managers. I want, like Kobe said, I want that funnel in LA. I want it to go. I want Kelsey and XYZ, whoever that may be. In that case, it's Higbee and Kupp, and you don't have that. And it's challenging. For
IDP, Nick Bolton must start for you, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it goes back to what you said. If you think they're going to try to run with Josh Jacobs, there's a reason the Chiefs are the number 1 defense against the rushing attack, is because they have Nick Bolton in the middle. They're getting pressure up from Chris Jones. I think that's probably the only true IDP option that I really like. Chris Jones is good, but
now you got me last week on a couple podcasts.
Oh, right.
Really
sorry.
Hyped up about another player.
Forgot. Yeah. I forgot about the number 1 IDP player in fantasy right now is L'Jarius Sneed. The number 1. You guys, did you know that? The overall of every position. Now, a lot of that is, again, he's kind of the CEH of the IDP side. very, very unsustainable to be, top 5 in sacks, pressures, tackles, all the scoring metrics. It probably won't last, but he getting utilized very well. Spags blitzing him off the corner. He's involved in a lot of plays in between the hash. He's staying middle. Derek Carr focuses like 75% of his passes are actually intermediate to short. Believe it or not, even with Devontae Adams being as successful as he is, everything's kind of staying centric. So it plays well for L'Jarius Sneed.
On the flip side for the Raiders, obviously you're starting Devontae Adams. I'm pretty high on Josh Jacobs. Darren Waller. What are our thoughts on Darren Waller, Dave?
I mean, he's a George Kittle-esque type of caliber where, you're starting him, right? He had a good week 2, I think it was. But other than that, he's been a little bit quiet. I don't know. I mean, what other options you have? That's the thing. Really, the tight end pool this year is so slim. You've got Mark Andrews and Kelsey at the top, and the gap between them and the other guys is just so huge.
So go ahead.
No. I was just going to say it's just too big. But like I said, Carr's not been playing that great. I think now he's got Devontae. He doesn't need to pepper Waller like he used to. So he's just not seeing the targets.
So I'm going to ask you a ridiculous question. All right, would you take the inconsistencies of Darren Waller, okay, or would you take the consistency with the low ceiling of a guy like, get ready, Will Disley?
Nah, I'm still taking Waller just because the talent. Waller's the kind of guy who can go for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, and it wouldn't surprise you. He's just got that. His ceiling is unlimited, whereas Disley.
Unlimited.
Don't. Somebody was going to bring that up. Nate, IDP Raiders before we get out of here.
Yeah, there's some. Devon Diablo is fine. Watch Blake Martinez this week. Pass rushers are great. Max obviously is a must start. Chandler Jones, Jonathan Abram. I mean, those are all must starts. The key thing to focus on is Blake Martinez's usage. See what he does. If he gets out there and plays 3 downs, he's an immediate add, and you definitely start him. And if he plays 2 and then sits for any type of pass play, then take him out. New England Detroit, Amani. I'll always.
Oruwari.
Yes, I'll always mumble out one is out, as well as Marcus May. So that's
Giants
it.
Just beat the Packers, guys.
So
remember what I said? Packers are finishing last in their division.
So if no Jacoby Myers this week, Nelson Aguilar sneaky flex play because of what you just heard, and that'd be with Oruwari in or out of the lineup. Last question before we head out of here. Marcos is asking Dallas or Philly defense. Dallas. The Rams have the worst offensive line in the NFL, and they have 2 of the best pass rushers in the NFL. And Matthew Stafford is playing like crap. So give me Dallas this week. I want to thank everybody who tuned in today on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I want to thank Colby Conway. We got to get you on the show more, man. It's been great talking shop with you. We've hung out so much, and you're such a great presence in the fantasy community and do such great work over at Fantasy Alarm. Pleasure having you, man.
Awesome. Looking forward to the next one, man.
All right, Dave, as always, great having you on. Nate, as always, brother from another mother, great stuff. And I'm Jorge, so everybody else, good luck this week. And just remember this very important quote.
Great moments.
That quote didn't last too long. Great moments come from great opportunities. We'll see you next week, folks.